welcome to an all-new episode of GVN Sports. I am your co-host, Juwaan. And join with me today, as always, are my other co-hosts, starting off with Didge. What's up, Didge?
What's up, everybody? Ready to talk some sports? Ooh, I like that.
Right over Didge's head.
Right? That threw me off.
Didge is like...
Right? I got to do this now.
Subscribe.
But what's going on, Didge?
Oh, man, it's a good day. Very hot here in Wisconsin, but
I'm here too.
Keeping cool.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's hot here. Jesus Christmas.
It hit 100 today here.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not that hot.
How is it so hot over there? It's crazy.
I have no idea.
Is that normal?
No.
That's what
not
I mean.
at all. I went outside and almost melted.
Right. I'm like, wait, it can't be because it's not that far from Chicago, and they call that the Windy City, don't they?
Not far from Canada.
But yeah, no, for us, it's like this hot. When you have to do this with your shirt.
Yeah.
100 sounds like the shirt comes off.
Oh yeah, I stepped outside and I was like, I'm going back inside. I'm good with this today.
Yeah. 100 degrees sounds like you're leaving the house like you're going to a pool.
Yeah.
Like that's how you're dressed.
I may have texted some people. I may have hit some old friends. Like, hey, you still got that pool?
Yeah, you got the pool, right? Yeah, I'm gonna come over there. Next up, Joel, the only other person that can understand why times like this in basketball, the off season, is literally a nightmare for Knicks fans.
But it's a fucking ball for just NBA fans. If you really
for
like
other NBA fans, yeah, for
it's
sure.
a nice fucking roller coaster.
Because right now, what we're trapped in, Joel, is a lose-lose situation. So what happens is, Didge. No, so this is what happens literally almost every year for Knicks fans, right? So the media will say something like, Kyrie wants out, right? Could he go to the Knicks? And then they go, who would want to go to the Knicks? What would you give them? But you created the narrative. Like Knicks fans didn't create that narrative. You did.
No one.
And then you'll shit on us.
Kyrie.
Right.
And all of a
So
sudden now it's like, well, they get mad when our name comes up.
Just for a reason.
They put our names out there.
They put our names in there, and then they go, "How dare you lean into the story I created?" It's like, but you created it. You made it sound good.
You gave me hope. I'm sorry.
We're still holding on to Brian Windhorst from 2 years ago, and he's like, a big name free agent's gonna make their way to the Knicks, and he never said a name, and he has still stood on the fact of it'll still happen. When, Brian? When? This is why you don't say nothing, because now Knicks fans are like, well, when? This year? This year? Like, is it this year?
Did he say to the Knicks specifically, or did he say New York?
Yes. No, the Knicks specifically.
Oh, he said Knicks specifically?
Yes.
Okay. Because I was going to say, not Brooklyn's in New York, so, maybe.
Not really. It's Jersey adjacent.
A little alliteration there.
It's Jersey adjacent. It's not really.
It's on an island separate from Manhattan.
You know what? View the Nets the same way people view when you say that the Giants and Jets are a New York team, but reside in New Jersey. Look at it like that, but in the opposite, right? But even though it doesn't reside in New Jersey, just pretend that it does.
Yeah. Brooklyn
pretend that it
New
does.
York.
But all right, so let's jump into this. I want to start off with Warriors did it. Warriors did it. Didge got his, second reprieve of a prediction. I would have loved to have seen if the Celtics won, would Didge have pushed it to 7? And then if the Celtics won the 7, would Didge have pushed it to 8? You wait till next year.
9. It's going to go to 9, guys. There are going to be 9 games this series.
This will be the first ever 15-game series in NBA Finals history. No, so the Warriors did it again. The Warriors have won the NBA championship 4 times in 6 years, I believe.
8.
No, I thought they said they went to 6 in 8 years, but won 4 and.
Okay, you might be right.
I think it's something like that. I didn't pay more.
Remember.
That's probably.
Just wait, no, hold on. Hold on. Let's do it. Cleveland 4 times, right?
Yeah.
They faced Cleveland 4 times.
One Toronto.
They lost 1 to Toronto.
Yeah, and then this year. Yeah. So they won 4. but they've gone 8 times. But they're saying in the 6-year span.
But that can't be right because they won one, lost one, won 2, didn't go 2 years, and then just won this one.
Yeah, the last 2 years until this year.
So that would be 4 and 8.
Yes. Okay. So you're right. 4 and 8. Damn, that sounds like no parody.
That doesn't. Yeah. Either way, it didn't sound. Nothing changed with this sounding any better.
For real.
But yes, Golden State is back on top of the mountain again. Steph Curry finally has his Finals MVP. So that's no longer a conversation. But Didge, I'll start off with you. Walk me through this game 6. And then your thoughts on Warriors being back on top of the mountain.
So the game 6 itself, once they outlasted that 12-2 run at the very beginning, and I think it was 12-2, and the next thing you looked at it was like 16-18. I was like, this is pretty much over. Boston came out, gave their biggest punch, and when they came back, I think that was sort of when the reality started to sit in, like, man, we tried. We already had lost game 5 in heartbreaking fashion, and we tried to give our best, and clearly it's not enough. And that's where it seemed like most of the team, other than Jaylen Brown and I would say Al Horford, pretty much gave up. Jaylen Brown, hats off. He was balling the entire way, trying his hardest to make sure that they could try to fight for 7. But it wasn't enough. And the scariest thing about this is Golden State could do it again next year.
Oh, yeah.
Like, their team, the way that they're built, it's weird because they're like kind of aging, but they still have a very young core that they could develop.
Well, also what's so frustrating about it is, what do we always say about players that are approaching the ages of Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry? We're used to players that are more so what? They got to drive to the basket.
Yeah.
They're very aggressive in driving. We're talking about 2 players who are the greatest shooters ever. I still see Ray Allen shooting today.
Yeah.
So it's not like that'll leave them. You know what I'm saying? Now, Steph's explosiveness to get to the rim, sure. But we're talking about his effectiveness is not that. It's shooting from the other basket.
Right,
so it's like he can do that for another 4 years.
This 6 for 11 that he was in Game 6, he can easily do that moving forward. And they still have James Wiseman. Like we don't know what his ceiling is.
Kaminga, they barely played
Kaminga. Yeah, we
barely played him.
It's scary because they can do so much with relatively trying to change anything. Like I already saw earlier that they already said they're re-signing Kevon Looney. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's likely coming back. I'm sure.
Something people they're not aware of. Wiggins is not a free agent this year. He's a free agent next year.
Same for Poole.
You're not in a rush right now to pay him, but you do have to eventually think about paying both of those 2 players going forward.
By then, I think some other contracts are going to come off the books where it's like we can do some things.
Also, keep in mind, if you're Steph, Klay, and Draymond, you're looking at these kids and you're going, I'll take a pay cut. Are you serious?
They already made their money.
I'll take a pay cut.
They'll go out the Tom Brady book.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Those 3 players will never have to worry about anything in Golden State ever. Right. So it's like you could pull a Dirk. Because remember, Joel, we were talking about this a few years ago when Dirk retired. Remember when Dirk took a pay cut? We were under the idea that Dirk taking a pay cut is because A, he would just receive it on the back end, or B, there would be some kind of position in the organization that Dirk could have to just be long-standing. So your money could be made up that way.
Or not even that. It's getting advertisements, getting endorsement deals that are in the city. And they're in San Francisco. There's big money there. So it's 100%. Like, even if it's like, oh, I took a pay cut on my NBA salary, it's whatever's going on in this city. Oh, I'm endorsing the local bank or whatever. And it's like, sure, you're not seeing it on the national scale, but it's like there's big money in this city where we may never see it, but they got all of that.
Right. Yeah, no. So to me, I'm like, I think those three guys will take a pay cut.
I can see it.
They'll take a pay cut, or Draymond's the odd man out. That's really how that's.
Well,
go.
to be fair, I don't know how many more years Draymond has.
Yeah, it's 2 more years.
No, I'm talking about before he wants to retire.
Playing.
Yeah. Well.
Because I mean, he's been in the league 10 now? 10 years?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know how basketball contracts work. I know with football they do it a lot. It's why they extend. It's why they extend players so early on. Is because they can push a bulk of that money to the back end, so they're not paying it in the first few years. They're paying it later on.
They can do that in NBA contracts too. But that's why they extend it, because then it essentially becomes a brand new contract as of that day. So you can sort of restructure the money.
Right, but basketball, I don't know if so the language of football is I could say, okay, so you're making 160 something million, right? For the next 5 years. I could make sure that the first 2 at least are the smallest amounts of the large amount I have to pay. I don't think basketball works the same way. I think basketball is very much, if my shit is 20 million a year, it's 20 million a year. It's not 10 this year, 10 next year. No, it's 20 million. John Wall is a perfect example.
No, you can backload it, because I remember Giannis' contract.
But you got to do it up front.
But that's what I'm saying. With the restructuring, wouldn't that make it a new contract as of that? Because you're basically restructuring the deal.
But this restructuring is so rare in basketball. It's not like football where you just
fair. That's fair.
Contract. Basketball, you're like, well, you gotta buy me out maybe, and then we'll talk. But it's just
football. Because I know for a fact football works that way, because a lot of teams what they'll do is
we did it a couple times this year.
Say it again.
So the Giants did it at least with 2 or 3 guys this year.
Right. So that's why whenever you hear that a player got extended, it's not necessarily like, oh, they really believe in that player. It's more so like, no, we want to see what you can be in 3 years, but we don't want to have to pay you a bulk of this yet.
Right now.
So you live up to the contract, and then we could maybe think about it.
That happens a lot in football.
Actually. A lot, like religiously. So
I looked it up. You can restructure a contract in the NBA, but you have to be under cap, it looks like. So that's weird. And I don't know how many teams are still under cap. I don't.
And we don't have to worry about that for Golden State, because they're they're not under cap at all. They're paying a shit.
But it also says
the highest cap.
Right.
It also says the player can't really take a pay cut to create more cap room either. So there's that. You
said a player can't take a pay cut?
No. And granted, let me make sure this is under the current CBA. But so there's that.
Okay. All right.
They have a lot of agents this year, actually. But the bulk of them are fine. They're good.
All right, so before I pass it to Joel Didge, I want to ask you this. I want to ask you, what's the likelihood you give Golden State to repeat? And how impressive was this run for Golden State this year?
Are you asking Joel or me?
No, you did. I want to go to you first before I go to Joel.
The likelihood of it.
We did. Fuckers.
I'd say I don't know if they're gonna repeat, but I do think they'll come out the West again. I think the East is gonna get that much stronger next year. Miami will be healthy. I don't think they're losing too many pieces. I think the only one is PJ Tucker. I saw just opted out, and he probably will end up resigning.
Maybe.
I think.
I don't know.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I put Miami in that fold, and here's why. Not saying that they're not talented.
Well, I'm just going off the top 4 in the East. So that's
I'm sorry.
They were the number 1 team in the East this year. I'm just going off those. They're going to be healthy, and like I said, maybe PJ Tucker resigns. But I think either way, he's probably the only piece that's potentially moving. If we're looking at the 2 seed, Boston, I'm assuming they'll be back. I don't think they come out the East again, but they'll probably be back in the fold. Milwaukee will be healthy. I feel like we'll be right back at it. The Sixers is the one I have the most question marks about, because I don't know where things are going to land with them, but presumably they'll probably still be around that middle to top of the East. And I think the East, if their best teams get better as they should with, health or whatever it is, I could see them all matching up better against Golden State. And with the West, I think the West sort of peaked this year. This is where I think their best teams are sort of where they're going to be, barring obviously any crazy free agent signings or trades. But I think this is sort of where the West is going to be for the next couple of years. And I think I could see Golden State coming out of that, especially as their younger players mature as they should.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I agree on that, only because I think what we as media sometimes don't give enough credit to is experience, right? So, like, you look at the Grizzlies, I don't think they hit their max. And let's not forget, Desmond Bane was hurt a lot of that Golden State series. I think they're saying his back. So I'm like, Jamorant actually playing the full series, Desmond Bane not being hurt, elevates that team. I think Dallas looks a little bit different, not drastically, if Tim Hardaway Jr. is not hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's because you get more from Tim that you were never going to get from Reggie Bullock.
Also remember, both of those series, Golden State was losing. Golden State didn't have one of their best defenders, so it's not like Golden State was completely healthy against injured teams. So it's like
100%. But I just believe the experience is enough. Like, it doesn't always have to be they add like a player or anything like that. Sometimes experience is just more than enough.
And then Golden State's young guys are going to have that experience too, though.
100%.
And they're going to have growing pains.
Yeah. So I believe the West hasn't. I would agree with you if everybody was healthy and we just saw the best that they had to offer, and that was it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But a lot of these guys are babies. Like, they're babies. They will naturally grow. Or, hopefully for the organizations, they'll naturally take that progressive step forward. And again, let's not forget, Denver Nuggets held in as long as they could with no Jamal Murray, no Michael Porter Jr. You just add just those two pieces back, they're immensely better than what they were.
Yeah, but I feel like they don't stay healthy. So I'm almost like, you just kind of.
Well, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. came into the league with injuries, and Jamal just hasn't recovered from that one injury. So he'll be completely fine. And again, let's not forget, we're talking about a Clippers team with literally no Kawhi Leonard at all.
I don't know what's up with Kawhi. So it's like it's tough for me to gauge that he's gonna come back the same person just because we haven't seen him for basically 2 years. I don't know what's up with him.
I don't think. See, here's the thing. I don't think he needs to be 100% of what he was. Because to me, if Kawhi can give you 100% of offense but only 50% of defense, you could kind of lean on Paul George to kind of help you with that other 50% on defense, right? But it's all about, like, is he healthy? And I think more so this year was about, hey, instead of rushing him back just so we can try to win it all this year, let's take our time, make sure he's 100% ready to go. And we'll attack it that following year. It's not like Kawhi's like 36, you know what I'm saying, or anything crazy like that. He's still relatively young.
30.
He's still got
usually
31.
He has mileage still.
I'm saying usually people talk about you getting into your prime around 28, 29, 30.
Right. I mean, this should be his prime.
Right. So now I'll give you this, Didge. If he's there game 1, and then we're talking about by game 15, he's out for like 2 or 3 months or a week or 2. Then it's like, yeah, that's going to be a lingering problem. Let's maybe put them on the outside looking in. But with the expectations that he'll come back healthy, that's another added boost of Kawhi and Paul George 100% healthy, mixing in with Reggie Jackson and how well he played this year. So I'm like, I think that team can make some noise for sure. And then the looming question mark of what will the Lakers be? It's the biggest question, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest question. Because here's the thing. We all can agree that wasn't the most talented roster out of all the teams in the Western in the playoffs for the Western Conference, right?
But here's talented.
here's the one thing that doesn't matter when it comes to the Lakers about talent. If AD and LeBron are healthy, well, no, not only that as a franchise, if AD and LeBron were healthy and made the playoffs, I give them just as good of a chance as anybody else because LeBron is LeBron James. So it's like if him and AD are healthy, that's really all you need. But the problem is, can AD be healthy? So again, these are question marks. That's the only reason why I push back only a little bit on. I don't think the West has hit its ceiling yet because we've yet to see these people healthy and then see what they produce.
Yeah.
That's fair.
All we can do is hope that they stay healthy.
Right. That's really the biggest thing. That's really the biggest thing. Yeah,
because no playoffs really has every team 100% healthy. There's never really been one.
Always something.
So it's like, and look, you just kind of assume that that's going to be the case.
To be fair, let's look at Golden State's track record as I pass it to you, Joel. Golden State's rings, each one of their rings that they won, came by in a pivotal round. That opposing team lost their best player or lost one of their more important players. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget where Houston looked like they were going to beat Golden State because there was no Kevin Durant. Chris Paul, gone. And then James Harden just disappeared in that final game, right? So it's like you look at that the first year Golden State broke through to go to the finals. They played Memphis. Memphis lost a really big player in that series. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, each of the wins Golden State has, it seems like everything falls just right for them.
That's every final. That's every finals. That's every champion. I mean,
well, I'll make an argument that if one other player could have given just a little bit more, maybe Milwaukee pulls out that game 7. I'm not even talking about Chris Middleton being healthy. If somebody on that roster that actually played gave Giannis just a little bit, we wouldn't even be having a conversation right now about Boston and Golden State. So I'm like, sometimes it's just you have somebody that is just so powerful, it doesn't matter. Right? Like, it doesn't matter. And unfortunately, Golden State has an arsenal that just overpowers you. So it's like, I can overpower you on your best day. Now we're talking about your worst day, and you think I can't overpower you?
That's a fair statement, yeah.
Come on. Like, what, do you think Trevor Reeves is going to help you, James Harden? No. I'm going to shoot lights out on his head.
He tried. He tried.
So yeah, I mean, Golden State is just one of those teams that it's like, I like them. I like how confident they are. I like how cocky they became this year. I love Steph telling them it's nighty night. I love all that. I loved all that. The problem is, if Golden State just won for the first time this year, I would celebrate them. But because I've just heard their names in championships mentioned too many times in the past decade, I'm done. I'm over it. I can't wait for Jamorant to break out the gritty or the giddy, whatever the hell, right all over Golden State next year. So, that's fair. To me, I've had my fill of Golden State. But Joel, how do you look at it? Break down your thoughts on this game 6, and then do you see Golden State possibly making it back to the finals next year?
There's always a chance that they can make it back to the finals next year. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a gimme because I didn't have them winning it at first. It wasn't really until second round where I'm like, yeah, they probably got to take it all. So especially if they stay healthy, and they stayed relatively healthy for the most part. And it was like Clay just really coming around, like rounding out. Like he came back at the end of the year just in time, got it back into shape for the most part, and that helped a lot. But for the most part, the Golden State Warriors are just the only reason I expected them to win is because I felt like they had more manpower at the end of the day. They had more depth. They were 5 deep, and then they had Jordan Poole, and then like the fucking Gary Payton stepped up, and you can always rely on fucking what's his name, center.
Looney.
Looney, yeah. Looney's Mr. Reliable, I call him. You know, that's why he still gets minutes. So respect to Kayvon Looney.
Which will be really interesting because Golden State's going to have a really fun decision to make because you look at Looney, right? And you look at what he's able to give you. And then you look at the fact that Wiseman can do literally all the things Looney cannot, right? So it's like you're going to have to look at it at some points and go, Am I going to value Looney's defense and tenacity on the boards over Wiseman's offensive ability?
Or you run your Twin Towers.
Nah.
But then, do you put Draymond on the bench? Like,
as Draymond's getting older, you don't think he'd want to take the Andre Iguodala route?
No. Remember, this is the Draymond that averages like 2 points a game and got offended when we said you were playing bad. It's like, well, Draymond, you were playing bad. Like, I don't understand.
For the same reason that we were just saying that we think that they would take a pay cut, I think if Steve Kerr or even just the GM, whoever, sat down and said, this is what we think will be best to get us more rings, I think that they've all bought into the system enough that they're like, we'll at least try it.
We'll definitely have to see, because I believe Draymond is not only their best passer, but the offense just runs way more fluid when he's on the court, which is weird because he's not an offensive threat.
Yeah.
But it just runs better when he's there. Even though he's not going to shoot or drive it. Like,
instantly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to do anything. So it's like, well, I don't know how that works, but it works. So I'm interested to see how that definitely pans out for them. But that's going to be fun to see Wiseman versus Looney. Who starts?
Well, I think it'll end up being Wiseman because, I mean, that's who was starting last year before he really got it. And then, actually, it went back and forth. They started Wiseman, and then there were times that they would start Looney because he's so young. He was still getting used to the game. Like, right. No, sit down.
They were like, you're a puppy. No.
But Wiseman had really good moments before his injury. So I think at the end of the day, it'll end up being Wiseman. But and Looney will just be fine coming off the bench and doing garbage. That's what he did this year. He didn't even start in the finals. It was fucking Porter who played like.
I was gonna say, even if you look at how many minutes he was going throughout the season and even postseason, he was still only doing like 23 minutes. So I don't think he's at this point, I don't think he's expecting, I'm going to be the main starter.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't think Looney would make a big deal out of it. I thought more so if you're Kerr, like, all right, from game to game, I don't think it'll be specifically to one individual. It might switch up each game.
That's mostly how that works. But, yeah, I think the majority of starts will be Wiseman.
That's fair. So, just break down Game 6. So, how did you see Game 6, Joel?
I can't remember. I feel like it was so long ago now. I've already forgotten. Like, race happened. Goodbye.
I mean, I'll help you out here. So what Didge was saying was absolutely true. So it was a Horford and Brown show, right? It was just those two really carrying the load
Boston
for the Celtics. Yeah. Tatum just didn't have it. He didn't have it. I don't know if it was because he was. They were saying he was having shoulder issues. After I think it was game 1 or game 2, that he was playing through.
That's right.
So I don't know if that kind of was starting to. And then Marcus Smart, we know he was. We know he always has the groin. Like it's always a groin aggravation with him. He re-aggravated it in that game.
Yeah.
In that game where he fell and got up and was just like, "Oof! I am glad we're going home." Like, I don't have anything else left in the tank. This team is definitely missing something. And Didge, we can talk about this to end this conversation. You went the route of which most media pundits went the route of Jason Tatum. What was the word that you used? Because I hate the word.
Choke.
He choked. He did. I mean, I don't think there's any other way around it. I get not liking the term, but I don't think there's any other way that you can describe what he did Game 6.
Like I said, I don't disagree with the sentiment of he definitely should have played immensely better than he did. I just don't like the term. It's something about it sounds purposeful, right? Like that's why I don't like the term. Because we're like, he went out there and choked. It's like, well, he didn't try to, right? Like it wasn't working for him.
You don't try to choke.
You don't try to choke, and it's just one of those things where whether it's the lights were too big, whether you got in your own head or whatever, the fact of the matter is when his team needed him the most, he practically disappeared.
I also will say this. I think sometimes we lean more one side than the other. I think a lot of Tatum playing as poorly as he did is because Wiggins was able to get a lot more aggressive, and it just seemed like Tatum just couldn't really handle that.
Andrew Wiggins.
Which is look, huge shout outs to Andrew Wiggins, right?
That's
because
right.
Andrew Wiggins now today has rewritten his legacy to where now the word bust cannot be synonymous with his name anymore. Because now Wiggins can say, was he the number one overall pick that year? Yeah, he was number one to Cleveland. He was number one to Cleveland, I think.
That's right, and they traded it to Minnesota, right?
Right, for Kevin Love.
Right.
So if you're Wiggins, you can say, I was the number one overall pick, and I won a ring. Mind you, not where I was drafted, but I won a ring, right? Made an all-star game, won a ring.
Culture, baby.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're Wiggins, you've now completely rewritten your history, which makes me feel even worse for Jabari Parker. It's like now the word bust will very safely rest in Jabari Parker's lap and not Andrew Wiggins.
What's crazy is that Jabari was on, I think the last team was Boston.
It was.
Was it?
Yep. He's going between Boston, Chicago, and Milwaukee. He's been in that circle. That circle of teams. And each year where those said teams get better, he's not on that roster anymore.
Yeah. As soon as he leaves.
As soon as he goes. As soon as he left. As soon as he left, Giannis was just like, I'm going to win a ring this year. And it was like, you waited till I left? Yeah, we thought it was time. But yeah, unfortunately, that slam cover of Wiggins and Jabari Parker together will not age well at all. We will look back and go, I know Wiggins. Who's that other guy? Oh, Jabari. Oh, okay.
I mean, and to be fair for Jabari Parker, he had some good years early on. His was literally injuries.
It wasn't bad.
100. I think what also worked against Jabari Parker is playing in Milwaukee right as Giannis was rising.
Yeah.
So it's like,
there was definitely some friction there. I remember the friction of he was starting to get upset that he wasn't staying the man, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, at the time, Jabari didn't shoot well enough to put at the 3 to put Giannis at the 4.
And he didn't want to play the 3.
Right. So it was just like, well, sorry. Look how tall Giannis has grown.
It was
this guy needs to be in the paint. You don't. Look at this body. Look at yours.
Yeah, it was a rough time.
Yeah. So again, Wiggins did get the better end of it because picture if Wiggins had to go to Cleveland with LeBron, we believe that might have elevated him just the same as Golden State did, but it also could have neutralized him really.
Yeah.
Because that would have been his first year. Cleveland went to the finals. So now you're talking about a Wiggins who's new to the NBA. He's now in the finals. And it's like, what's the one thing he can excel in these said finals, right? Because it's like what he's become today, an off-ball shooter, the 3-and-D guy, like all those things he had to develop. And you can make an argument he's just now fully developed it. So you're talking about year one. What would he have done? Shot? He wasn't the best shooter coming into the league.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, we'll have him slash to the hoop. Well, that's what LeBron's doing.
Pure athlete.
Right. So it's like, I don't know how much of that athleticism we could have seen with Kyrie holding the ball for an hour, LeBron holding the ball for the other hour. I don't really know. I don't think you could just tell Wiggins to go year one, go sit in the corner and hit threes. I don't think that would have worked. So luckily for him, he took the scenic route, got the ring anyway. Congratulations.
True. Yeah.
I remember when I made that trade. I was like, what? That's okay. What?
That was one of those head scratchers. Like, and then when you heard who they were trading for, I'm like, well, if Kevin Love can do 30 and 10 a night with LeBron, that's a trade you just have to make, right? Like, that's not something you turn down.
Right.
Unfortunately, Kevin Love did not read the Bosch book of third wheels. He unfortunately took it like way worse than Bosch did. Bosch very much looked at LeBron and Wade and said, I'm not you guys. I'll just shoot threes, sure. Kevin Love looked at Kyrie and LeBron, and I guarantee you, at least his first 2 years, thought, I'm just as good as you guys are. And he played like it. He played like he thought he was just as good as they were, and He wasn't.
Yeah.
he wasn't. Maybe in Minnesota, but he wasn't when he got to Cleveland. He was not that. And he just seemed to not really be able to find himself again, really. Which was a shame because I'm like, those Minnesota years for Kevin Love were all time. Like I still go back and watch those highlights. Kevin Love, was a beast. Whether it was rebounding, assists, scoring, he was a monster. He really was. But yeah, for me, for Game 6 was one of those just disappointing ones, just really disappointing ones. I wanted to see a better game. I felt like these playoffs as a whole had more blowouts than they did close games. I don't know that for a fact. It feels
like it. It feels like it doesn't. I think what made it interesting, and I think close in a lot of people's minds, is it wasn't always the same team blowing everyone out. It would be like, right. Oh, Golden State got blown out last game, but they came back and blew them out now. So it's like, right. you in the grand scheme of things, you feel like it's closer rather than it actually being closer because a lot of the games weren't really close.
Right, and it doesn't help that Golden State got blown out by 55 in a playoff game. Like, that's right. Just, those words shouldn't exist. It's like, okay, Curry was hurt, right? No. Was Clay? No.
There was literally no finals game that wasn't decided in single digits. Every finals game was at least 10 points or more.
Right. All right, so now I want to ask you, Didge, before we move to our next topic, because I want to wait for Joel to get back before we move on to our next topic.
Sure.
I told you before I believe Steph Curry was a top 10 player all time, right?
Right.
So I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but him now winning the finals, right? Him winning that finals MVP. Do you still have him on the outside looking in, or do you have him in that 10-man club?
No, I think he's top 10 now. I think I had gave that caveat before, and if I didn't, I should have. Because that was always getting the finals MVP, which I assumed if he would have won it again, he was going to get it. Was always the one thing I think that was holding him out of the top 10. So, I mean, literally, he's changed the game forever. So that you have to sort of have him somewhere high in the rank for that. And just what he's doing with his size and his shooting, it's one of the probably most transcendent players. He's not the most, maybe not the most dominant because, dominant sort of talks about you physically imposing your will, but with his shooting and the way that he plays the game, it's one of the things that we hadn't seen before. And even though everyone's trying to emulate it, I don't know if we see it again.
I've become weary of that, right? Because you look at Shaq, right? And you're like, we'll never see a player that dominant again, right? And then you look at Curry, he's not dominant like Shaq was, more physically. But right. I always say Shaq dunking on you, right, is demoralizing. You know what's worse? Somebody that feels as though they don't even have to play within the regulation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Within the parameters of the court. I can shoot from the logo. I can do a half-court shot. And then he'll do this on you. He'll do the nighty-night. That to me is just as demoralizing.
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying? That's even more demoralizing. So to me, that is dominant. That's dominance right there. You know what I'm saying? And I feel as though we haven't seen it in that. And again, you can make the case for LeBron, but that dominance is in like a whole nother, that you just view it differently. But again, LeBron's never argued about, is he in top 10?
Right.
I even hear it on TV. What else does Steph need to do? I think the biggest problem why people are looking to keep Steph out is because 2 of his rings were won with Durant. So they hold that against him. Not really looking to give him the credit for that, but I don't know how after this, what he did this year, you keep him out. I really don't understand it.
It was one of those things, even those rings with Durant, I mean, there's a very high chance that Golden State would have got him without him. Golden State was literally there with the best record the year before.
They were, but they struggled to stop LeBron James. I don't know. I don't know if you're talking about. You know what? Let me not say that, because like you said last week, it's hard to really dig into that because we don't know what they would have replaced the vacancy of Durant with at that time.
And
right?
it's not like now this is gonna sound very weird because LeBron definitely went crazy those series, but it's not like he didn't do it before and they beat him.
Well, time out. Remember, the year LeBron lost was the year he had no Kyrie, no Kevin Love. So that was when LeBron lost. The year that LeBron won, remember Draymond got suspended that game. LeBron won that crucial game 6 to take it to 7. The infamous block. Right, the infamous block, and then the Kyrie shot. And then it was the Durant years where they just had too much. But LeBron in that, remember this crazy stat.
Yeah, LeBron,
in the year of Durant, the first year that Durant beat LeBron, right, with the Golden State Warriors, LeBron led the finals, not the Cavs, in points, rebounds, and assists.
Right.
It was averaging 35 a game. So I'm like, if you subtract Durant and you're telling me LeBron still put up those numbers, I do not believe that a Harrison Barnes.
Well, I said good chance. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Let me take a step back to make sure I reiterate that. There's a good chance. I'm not saying guarantee because LeBron was a man on a mission.
He was. He was. But yeah, I just definitely look at it to where I'm like, you can't leave Steph off of top 10. I really can't. And I think we need to. I know a lot of people don't like this sentiment, but I do think sometimes you should reevaluate a top 10 list, right? And because like a lot of people have Wilt Chamberlain in their top 10, right? And I'm like, you do have to at some point look at the caliber of player he was playing against.
Well, that's what gets tough right? with these all-time rankings, because it's like, yes, he was playing against, who he was playing against, but the man averaged 50 in a season.
Yeah.
Again, I was not alive during that time, so I'm not questioning it.
Nobody else was doing that. If it was that simple, everybody would be doing 50.
But I feel like Russell wasn't doing that.
Why he played in that same era.
Bill Russell, one of the best, and didn't do that. Time out.
Right. There's also a reason why Wilt Chamberlain has no rings, and that's because of Bill Russell.
That's
he has a couple rings.
He was a defensive guy compared to Wilt.
Right. I think Wilt has 2 or 3 rings, right?
Wilt has rings.
Wilt has one ring.
One ring.
He won. He has at least one because he won one with what is now Golden State.
Right. Okay. That must have been the year Bill Russell said, "I am sick of winning."
He has 2.
He has 2. All right, so it's 2 rings.
So he won one with the Warriors
and one with the Lakers.
Yeah.
So those must have been the years where Bill Russell said, "I am just sick of this winning thing."
Oh, fucking Bill Russell's 9. 9.
So to me, I think sometimes it needs to be reevaluated. Because to me, I think impact, like how you impacted the game, what the legacy you left on the game is important. And that's why I'm like, Allen Iverson, I would love to put in my top 10, but I'm like, the one thing Curry did better than you, and albeit roster, not arguing that, you won championships. So it's like, I can't put you in over Curry because he has rings.
Curry in the top 10. It's the fact that he's won 4 championships.
Right. Yeah.
That's 100%. That's all you need, really.
Yeah. And look, we're talking about the possibility he could possibly win more. So it's like it's scary to think about that. This wasn't the Last Dance where they retired after this, right? Roll credits. No. This was definitely a Marvel movie where it pops up at the end. Steph, Clay, and Draymond will return in 2023.
That West Coast better step up then.
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting. But by the way, Klay Thompson is definitely the guy Klay Thompson is the guy that you always tell before you go out, like, hey, dog, don't embarrass us tonight. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, last time we went out, you lost your ring in the crowd. You did the Michael Jackson dance in the middle of the street.
You
knocked the poor lady over. You lost your hat. Like, you were going wild.
I had to rewatch that video where he knocked the lady over 10 times. I'm like, did he trip over something? Because it looked like almost that he tripped over something. And it's like, no, you were just that drunk. And I get it. Yeah. I get it. I've drank. I've gotten way too drunk before. I get it. but man, it was hilarious.
I tell you what, he gave Klay Thompson, Steph, and Draymond gave Tom Brady and Gronkowski a run for their money for the year they won in Tampa, where they were throwing the trophy from boat to boat, and like Tom Brady was going crazy.
Remember the lady who her dad was I guess he originated that design. She wanted an apology from him.
Good luck.
I don't think anything ever came of that,
but I will say, to me, the most iconic thing in parade history is Curry bringing all of his trophies and then stringing his rings into a necklace and holding all his trophies from this year. You just look at that, you're just like, that's dope. That's dope. But all right, let's move on. I was watching this the other day. I was watching this on YouTube, CBS Sports. They were doing like where they see certain teams going next year, the moves that they can make, where they see certain players going, and they did a deep dive on their theory of what the Dallas Mavericks can do, and whether that's bringing in Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal, right? Albeit if you're the Mavericks, you want Bradley Beal more than you want Zach LaVine. I thought about this really hard, so I want to open this up a little bit. And Joel, I'm going to start off with you.
Me.
I want to know, where do you see LaVine and Beal ending up? And I want to ask you, who do you think, if either one of them was an option for Dallas, who would be the better option to fit alongside Luka?
In Dallas?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Where would I don't. Oh man, the problem with Beal is that he just feels like he has to stay in Washington, and I understand that kind of pride to say like I want to win here, but at this point, bro, I don't know. They traded for KP. I mean, that should be that should be your. You're like, you don't care. If you don't care, then why should I care?
So Joel's pretty much saying Washington said, hey, how can I let Beal know we want him to leave without saying get the hell out? I know. Hey, Beal, you like Kyle Kuzma and Kristaps Porzingis, right? You like those guys? All right, they're your teammates. Like, go win me a championship.
You said they were cool one day. I heard passing. I heard it.
That is the ultimate form of disrespect. I like that.
But my thing with that is, I at this point, I would try. I personally, if I was him, try to find a way out wherever he wants to go, whether it's Miami, Dallas. Those would be great spots, especially in Dallas next to Luka. I think that would be an insane combo. But not that LaVine wouldn't be either, because you got to look at Chicago and like they had a great start to the year, and the injuries started piling up. And the problem with them is that they don't have, like the anti-Warriors, they don't have the youth movement, so it's like they're kind of present. They're like stuck with the guys that they're paying off. Right. If this doesn't work, they're like, well, who wants them? I want them. It's very weird now. They're kind of like, if this doesn't work, what do we do? So it's like, I'm very curious. Does LaVine see it that way? He's been in Chicago a couple of years now. He probably, feels comfortable there. But I don't think he'll turn down a chance at possibly, even if there's a chance for him to go to LA, or even maybe play next to Luka in Dallas. I mean, as long as they're paying him, I think he'll go. It's just a matter of, that's really what it comes down to. And then I don't think either spot's a bad spot. It's just I'm not really sure where they're going to end up. I really kind of can't wait for that just to happen and I find out. But I have no real good guesses. But I think either guy fits perfectly in Dallas. My question is, if that's going to be the case, then that means they have to open up that spot, that guard spot, and I think. But they want to bring back Jalen Brunson. Do they bring back Jalen Brunson? There's a lot of variables. So,
well, I tell you this: if you tell me I got a shot at LaVine or Bradley Beal, Brunson can go bye-bye.
Right?
Wherever you want to go.
Blocker for him.
Yeah, we packed your stuff. We packed your stuff. We're ready for you to go.
He was the second best player in the team this year, right? You can argue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no argument there. Mm-hmm. I like that you said that, Joel, because I don't disagree. But I think if you're asking me what's a better fit, Bradley Beal is a better fit because I think he's more effective without the ball. I think a lot of Levine's dominance is having the ball in his hand. And I think that's what took a little bit away from Levine this year, alongside DeMar DeRozan, because DeMar DeRozan. Let me be clear on saying this. DeMar DeRozan refuses to shoot threes, because I was going to say he doesn't shoot threes. No, he just refuses to shoot threes.
I knew it was about to be a flagrant. You said, "Well, let me."
Because
rephrase this.
I almost said a lie. Like, oh, he can't shoot threes. I think he literally says, "I refuse to."
No, he refused.
I want to win a championship with twos only. I want to be the guy who brought it back.
I've seen him shoot. Even this year, I've seen him do it. It's not common. It's very.
He doesn't
very,
like to do it. He does not like to do it for reasons we still don't know. We have no idea.
And he had
like,
a
he
great year.
An amazing year. I mean, Joel, we not argued, but we said some of the names that we thought should have been more utilized in that MVP conversation was Tatum and DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
Because they had phenomenal
season. For at least half the season.
At least. Who actually won it? Was it Jokic again?
Yeah, it was Jokic again.
I could make an argument what DeMar did for Chicago was equally as impressive as what Jokic did with Denver. Because nobody thought Chicago could be that good. Again, they flamed out come playoffs.
That's the problem.
But no one, again, the award is voted for before the playoffs begin.
Yeah, but the Nuggets stayed consistent, and they were losing players left and right, and it really was just him at the end. You know,
Did the Nuggets,
Jeff Green was in your starting lineup, doesn't that shit?
Yeah,
I don't know if they stayed consistent.
Well, Joel just means they didn't drastically drop off. Like, they didn't go from, you know what I'm saying? They didn't tumble. They didn't fall off.
Yeah.
That's fair, then.
Yeah,
they were never the best team in the league, but they were never the worst team in the league.
Right.
And they
should have been.
And they never got Jamal Murray back, and then Michael Porter crapped out at some point, right? So
fair.
Michael Porter Jr. said, "Hey, can I?"
Well, and look at that lineup. You had Monta Morris, Will Barton.
Did Jermichael Green come off the bench?
Jermichael Green came off the bench.
I think so.
Jeff Green started with Aaron Gordon, and then you had Jokic.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just saying I look at it and I'm definitely like, no one saw Chicago. And again, Chicago lost Lonzo for what felt like a whole season.
Right. I think January.
He was gone by the end of the year. He didn't play the whole second half of that.
He was gone. So you essentially, your big point.
They were injured a lot too.
They were. Levine was injured for a little while too.
Levine was hurt.
And DeMar DeRozan was still holding it down. Actually, a lot of his game winners came with no Levine. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm not saying Jokic didn't deserve it. I'm just saying I would have liked to have heard DeRozan.
I was going to give it to Embiid, but
I was too.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck me, right? No play.
I was gonna say. I remember we talked about this at length. So I don't think too many of us were. Yeah, because you weren't saying Jokic either, right, Juwaan?
No.
So yeah, I don't think any of us.
I wasn't.
Really, but again, I wasn't saying. My issue with Jokic wasn't that he didn't deserve it. It was that you can't scream parity and give it to the same guy back to back. And it wasn't a humongous upgrade from one season to the other.
Oh, I can't make that argument because when Giannis won it back to back, it wasn't like it was a humongous jump either. And I was definitely there. He deserved it. He deserved it both years. So I can't make that argument.
Only reason I won't even argue that down is because I don't even remember who was the runner.
That's what I mean. Like I'm never gonna remember who was the runner up.
I don't remember it. I don't remember it at all. So I won't argue that at all.
Take your word for it.
I'll take your word. Hell yeah, I'll take your word for it. He deserved it. He deserved both of them for sure. But Curry winning it back to back and then winning one unanimous to me made sense because he changed the game from one season to the next. He altered the game. So everyone was just like, we can shoot 3-pointers more times than we shoot twos. I never knew that.
It was James Harden. So it was LeBron the first year, then James Harden the second year.
I won't argue that because you can make an argument LeBron should have had it every year.
Yeah.
So I won't argue that. If LeBron was the runner-up, if someone else was the runner-up, then I could make the argument. And the James Harden one, I don't feel bad because I believe James Harden should have won it the year Russell Westbrook did. So to me, if Giannis won it over him, cool. He should have had the Russell Westbrook one.
That's fair.
To me, I'm like, if you want to add more awards to the NBA, add a best statistical award. And Russell could have gotten that. Not
That's
MVP.
That's
Sorry.
just league leaders.
Well, just do something for that then, where it's like, all right, he had the most beautiful stat line. Cool. Great. You get that. But no way in hell was Russell Westbrook more important to his team that year than James Harden. Sorry. No. Sorry. Can't give it to him. No.
You apologize.
That's fair.
At least I apologize.
Yeah.
I hate you. But Didge, what do you see happening with Levine and Beal? And do you see Dallas being a potential landing spot for either one of them?
That's interesting. I didn't know Dallas was planning on being this aggressive in the offseason. It definitely makes sense considering they went to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah. Levine, the most I've been hearing is that the Lakers are planning to go hard for him. And it sounded as if there was mutual interest there. So I'm kind of leaning towards, if Levine's not going back to Chicago, which I think is a very likely thing that can happen.
Possible.
I'm more leaning that he goes to LA because it seems like there's that mutual interest, and everything that I saw said that they were basically going to go almost all in on him. Bill, on the other hand, I truly don't know. Like I was telling you offline, there were rumors linking him to the Nets, which it sounds like those might have started to come up after the whole Kyrie Irving news. So I could see them trying to put together something. But Dallas would be a very interesting choice. Both teams have a lot that they could offer as a trade package. Because he still has like 3 or 4 years on this deal, right?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
So either way, you're going to have Bill.
Levine. Oh, you're talking about Bill.
Levine is a free agent.
Oh, that's right. He is a free agent. I'm sorry. I'm tripping.
I could check.
Yeah, Bill has another 2 or 3 years, I think.
Yeah, okay. So both teams have enough that they can offer in a trade package, though. It's just if he doesn't have a no trade clause, it's where can Washington get the best out of it? And honestly, it might be Dallas because I think they have more of a young group that they could offer up as pieces, whereas the Nets were very much built around KD and Kyrie.
So basically, Bradley Beal could be a free agent this year if he really wanted to.
Oh, but really?
He could opt out, right?
He's gonna opt in though. It's $36 million, unless someone's willing to go. Hey,
but opting doesn't necessarily because like even with the John Wall opting in, it was on the basis of they're going to explore another trade option or a buyout. Now, granted, Bradley Beal is way more loyal, apparently, than John Wall because he's loyal to a fault. But it's one of those things where I think if we're looking at a team has to give up a trade package, Dallas is the more likely route than, say, a Brooklyn because, like I said, they have more people that they can offer up, whereas the Nets was really built around, at the time, KD, Kyrie, and Harden.
They gave up a lot of their young guys.
And they gave up a lot of that.
Well, I'll definitely say this. I don't know how Laker fans think they could get Bradley Beal or Zach LaVine.
Well, Zach LaVine is easier because he's a free agent.
Yeah, but here's the problem, though. You got to get rid of Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook got to get the hell up out of there. Look, apparently very high. They got LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. It's very high. Now,
they are number 4 payroll, $164 million.
Apparently, the rumor has it Michael Jordan plans on bailing LeBron and the Lakers out by taking Russell Westbrook and giving them either Gordon Hayward or Scary Terry.
Well, Russell Westbrook might
or
not.
Both.
He has a player option this year, so he could opt out. I haven't heard anything saying he's gonna accept his player option.
Look, if I'm LeBron, I'm telling Russell Westbrook, hey, if you opt out, let you. If you opt out, I will let you be the lead of Space Jam 3. I'll put it on paper right now.
There's no way someone says no to 47. Like we just said that about John Wall. You think Russell Westbrook's not going to do it? After that year,
But yeah, he's on cap for 47. Their cap number goes down this year. That's because everybody else is basically
because everyone's a free agent.
And you know what's funny? If you're Russell Westbrook and John Wall, the reason why you can't opt out is because here's the good and the bad thing. If you're those two players, if those two players opted out, they'll easily find a home. Easily be in somebody's starting lineup the next day. Here's the one downside of that. Is when their agent sits at the table and goes, okay, pay me. Each of those teams that are suitors are going to go, hey, I'm thinking around, I don't know, 10, 15. They're like, 10, 15? I'm at 40-something now. And they're like, well, I'm sorry. You didn't play like a $40 million player last year. There's no way I'm paying you that. For you to come tank my team? No. I can take a tanking of a team at 10 million, not 40. You lost your mind. Sorry, not happening. So to me,
different.
I'm like, they could find a home and play anywhere. Problem is, no one's paying that money.
Yeah, that player. So I'm curious if he's going to opt out. I doubt it. Well, no. But if he opts out, that frees up a crazy amount.
Hell yeah!
Actually, and it would be really confusing.
It doesn't free up a crazy amount if we're going to go out because it has the salary cap at the top. And
it would be confusing if he opted out because remember, LeBron and AD weren't at Darvin Ham's introduction speech. Russell Westbrook was. And apparently he's no. I'm saying apparently they were saying that he's a huge Darvin Ham fan. So I'm like, I kind of feel like him being there is in support. Is in support of Darvin Ham. So I'm like, to opt out now is like, well, what do you know now that you didn't know when they gave you your new head coach? Nothing else changed.
He wouldn't be the first player from the Lakers who show up at a head coach's their press conference just to be gone.
That is true. That is very true. But yeah, definitely won't be the last. It might happen tomorrow.
Right.
But to me, I kind of feel like because you remember how they were saying, and it'll shoehorn us into our next topic, but do you remember how everyone was saying Kyrie is leveraging these other teams to force Brooklyn to pay him, right?
No leverage.
To me, if I'm the Nets, first thing I'm saying to Kyrie is, hey, bitch, I can go get Bradley Beal. like I'm not worried about you. If you don't want to be here, that is a huge monkey off our shoulder. Go ahead, be gone. I'm gonna go get Bradley Beal. Somebody that wants the ball, somebody that can consistently ball, and somebody that is just not a headache on or off the court.
What is their payroll like?
What, the Nets?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up.
Well, I can tell you right now, their team is 100% veteran minimums, and then Durant and Kyrie.
What happened? What do you want to know?
He was asking the Nets payroll.
I mean, that's pretty much what Lakers were.
Number two. They're the number one payroll. I mean, number two payroll.
Oh, shoot. I forgot Ben Simmons was on that team.
Ben Simmons, big-ass contract there.
Yeah. I forgot he was on
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to trade Joe Harris, but he got hurt last year.
I mean, yeah. But you still might be able to trade him for the low. It won't be for the high. It'll be for the low. But you'll be able to get him off the books. Their biggest problem will be, and that's why I'm saying I think if Brooklyn wants to be successful, they got to move off of Kyrie as we head into our next topic of Kyrie. I think you got to head off of Kyrie because – to me, I'm like, I think Ben Simmons can flow better with Durant and just another guy, or Durant and someone like Bradley Beal, somebody that does not need the ball in their hand at all.
Big now, to me. If you're gonna have Ben Simmons, you need I wouldn't consider Ben Simmons a big.
I agree.
So it's like you need a big, like a young big or another big. I don't know, someone that's not Kyrie, basically.
Hey. Oh, you mean a big player or like the size big?
Like a star big. What I mean.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? A post player is what I'm saying. Someone that's like a 3-4,
be that guy.
A 4-5. I mean, type of guy player. Like an AD type guy. Is what I'm trying to say.
I was gonna say you could look at, but he's gonna want money. Aiton's gonna want money.
Aiton's more of a 5, but yeah, I mean that wouldn't be terrible.
He's going to want to get paid.
Yes, he is.
And the first thing I'm saying as an organization is, hey, dog, hey. Like, I know you're great, but I definitely saw that playoff series. Like, I watched you finish a game with 5 points. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I saw it.
If they bring back Drummond, I don't know what Brooklyn's doing.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think Brooklyn's more so because, again, remember, Steve Nash came from Mike D'Antoni. So I very much believe Steve Nash is just like, if we outscore you, it doesn't really matter if we can't rebound or defend. Like, I'll just drop 140, you'll drop 126, and boom, we got the win.
Go from there.
All we care about. But yeah, so for me, this Kyrie story, apparently Kyrie Irving is on the outs with the Nets over contract. The Star has the Lakers, Clippers, and Knicks as potential suitors. Now,
Bet he does.
So,
I would like to speak for all of
Kyrie. His contract is interesting.
Oh, go ahead before I go into this. Go ahead.
His contract is interesting because he can opt out this year.
Mm-hmm.
He could.
So
that's what he wanted to do.
But it's weird because all of the rumors have been about him trying to force a trade. But it's like, why? Just opt the fuck out then.
Because he doesn't know if he'll get paid like that again.
Right.
It's 36 months. He wants like 40 and like years. And they're like, you barely fucking played the last 2 years.
Right.
It's weird to me. If you're that confident that this next team is going to, this team that they trade you to is going to give you the years and the money, opt out and let them do it in free agency then.
Yeah.
Wait, opt out and let say that again?
So his thing is his thing. And I think I sort of stepped over what you were about to say, and I apologize for that, was that he's using these teams because he believes that they'll give him the years and the money.
Mm.
But if he can opt out right now, let them have to worry about giving you the trade. Let them do it in free agency. If you're that confident.
Well, sure. But as much as we would like to believe there's a sucker every day in the NBA, I think a lot of organizations have gotten a lot smarter.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
Well, I can tell you this. If I'm an organization, I'm looking at 2020. You did not play in the bubble. I'm looking at 2021. You barely played. I'm looking at 2022. You also barely played. But that wasn't because of injury. That was because you chose to barely play. So I'm looking at those 3 years back to back to back and saying you are not somebody I can count on. So if I could sign Kyrie for $80 million come playoffs, where I know he's invested and can play all of the playoffs, sure. For a full season? Hell no. Sorry. Go let LeBron pay it. Let LeBron pay it up in LA. Sure. Go ahead and let it
I feel like I can agree with that, but also I think those teams are still going to look at 2019, the games that he did play, averaged 30. 2020 averaged 27.
No, hold on, time out. How many games did he play in 2020 to average 30, Didge?
2020, he played 54 games.
Oh, that's a lot, actually. That's a lot more than I thought he played. I thought he played like 30.
But he took days off just because.
2019, he played like 20 games and average.
That must be what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's the problem. He be taking days off just because. Not because, like he's hurt. It's just like, I need a mental health day.
You know what? You know what would be the best thing for the NBA? And I think it would be the best thing for these two organizations because their star players deserve it. I think they should do a straight-up swap. Russell Westbrook for Kyrie Irving because Durant deserves to be miserable with Russ for the rest of his career, and LeBron deserves to be miserable with Kyrie for the rest of his career. I think you should do it. Do it right now. So that way we can go, okay, Lakers and Nets won't be making the finals anytime soon. We can go ahead and push those two teams out of their respective conferences. And that would make me very happy as an individual. Not worrying about the Lakers and or the Brooklyn Nets. I think that's fair to ask for. Joel, do you agree? Do you think that's fair?
I couldn't ask for anything better.
And then you know what? To make it even better, LeBron and Durant retires in 2 years. That's just like, come on. You can't get any more storybook than that, right?
Yep.
Clearly, me and Joel are speaking from hate. Don't mind.
Oh, it's 100%.
But I was saying, Didge, I do want to speak for Knicks fans. We are not interested in Kyrie Irving. I agree with Alan Hahn. Kyrie Irving is not just because he's a headache, not just because he will gladly miss days and go play Fortnite and have no problem with it. It's mainly because we, for the last year and a half, have been trying to get our head coach to play the children. Last thing we need is another veteran coming in at the position we're trying to get him to play the children at. So no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. You had your chance when you could have walked through Madison Square Garden and said, I'm going to win a championship here and get a statue. And you decided to go down the street. So stay there or go somewhere else in the country.
Over the bridge.
No, thank you.
Stay
I'm
there.
going to disagree
No,
with
thank
you
you.
that you speaking for Knicks fans. I think it's 50-50. Just from my quick search through Twitter.
And I'm telling you right now, anybody that says they want Kyrie is not a real Knicks fan. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
I can tell you that
Because I was
right
going to
now.
say, just through
tell
my
you
quick
that
search.
50 is
I can tell you
being
that
nice.
right
Just my
They
quick
are.
Twitter
You know what
search.
they are? You know what they are, Didge? Those are the Knicks fans that are more interested in splashy than they are in the actual success of the franchise. They just want a name that they can hold on to.
Okay, that's
We
fair.
want to actually win championships. And I do not believe that if you put Kyrie with this said roster, it makes us any more suited for said championship.
Yeah.
So
That's
to me,
fair.
I'd rather build from the bottom all the way up again. than to
The
just
reason
throw
I
in a
said
piece.
50-50 because I saw a lot of please Knicks don't do this, but I also saw a lot of let's go. Then the Photoshop Kyrie in the Knicks jersey with the let's go. So it's like, all right.
Yeah. All you need to know, Didge, is that the ambassadors for Knicks believe this should not happen. If the ambassadors believe it should not
Fair.
happen, those
Okay.
are the ones you listen to.
Okay.
The Alan Hans, the CPs, the guys like that, the guys that are literally, they only want what's best for the Knicks, not what's best for this year, not what's best for they want Knicks to be exactly where Golden State is. 4 championships in 8 years. That's what they want. They don't want, all right, we're really good for this 1 or 2 years, and now we're fishing again. Because that's essentially what Kyrie will do for you.
And consistency, man.
Exactly. We want consistency. And the Warriors did it by drafting and then maintaining and then elevating those said draft.
That's
players.
fair.
So to
you
me,
know more than I did. I wanted to see. I always love to see what Twitter has to say. I feel like that's the.
it's always, when it comes to the Knicks, Didge, you're always gonna find those Knicks fans who are like, yeah, Knicks, okay. And then those guys that are me and Joel that literally watch Knicks all 82 games, good or bad.
Okay.
Right? Those Knicks fans are the Knicks fans that are like, I just want to get back to good. However we do it, I don't care. Give away all the draft capital. Give away all the kids. I just want a star, right? I want it to be good to watch again. Us, we don't mind if they struggle, but what's on the court is a work in progress, right? Like, I wouldn't want to sell Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin to get a quick fix. You know what I'm saying? If Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin can be something in the next 5 years, I'd much rather have that.
Now, to be fair, it's not getting nowhere near the amount of steam that Kyrie to the Lakers. That's a trending topic right now.
Yeah.
So it's getting nowhere near the steam that is getting. Yeah. But it was just something interesting to see.
Yeah.
I believe the
Clippers out there too.
If I'm the Clippers, I'm definitely saying to if I'm the Clippers,
you gotta say.
No, I'm sorry, not the Clippers. If I'm Reggie Jackson, that's what I meant. I'm looking the Clippers owner right in the eye as I'm reading Twitter, and I'm going, are you going to ignore what I did for you last year with no Kawhi and barely any Paul George? I balled my heart out.
And you know what
Steve Ballmer to the side?
And you know what Steve Ballmer could very well say? Yes. You are a great trade mate right now.
You know what? Steve
Never
Ballmer,
been better to trade than right now.
Steve Ballmer is probably the best guy to do that trade. You want to know why? Because he's probably the only owner that could care less about paying 2 players an excess amount of money, knowing good and goddamn well they will never play a full season.
That's what you got to look up. What does Clipper Twitter think?
That is a good point. Let me search that. Kyrie to the Clippers.
To me, you get Kawhi who needs rest days, and you get Kyrie who just wants days off. Yeah. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with 2 of them.
And the headache of fucking Kyrie, and then the quietness of Kawhi. Like,
yeah,
there's not a lot of Clippers fans, but everyone that I've seen so far has been, yes, let's go Kyrie to the Clippers.
But time out. You want to know why you don't hear much from the Clipper fans? Because they're fair weather, so they're on the side of get Kyrie to the Lakers.
Oh yeah,
they're Laker fans right now. That's why you don't hear much from them. They're Laker fans right now.
What would that trade be like? What would they trade?
Clippers? Oh,
Clippers
they could trade a lot, especially draft picks for sure. If I'm Brooklyn,
I
want those draft
picks, players. Who would they?
I think Reggie Jackson will be gone.
Reggie Jackson is definitely one.
Reggie Jackson, yeah,
definitely one of them. I think Morris might be one of them for sure.
Maybe Morris.
I definitely want Morris if I'm the Nets.
Maybe they want Terrence Mann. He's young.
They might want Terrence Mann. You know who they should go after, Joel? Because it's not a full fix. It's a temporary fix to what you were saying they need. I'd say, hey, give me your big. Give me your what's his name? They're big. Zubac. Give me Zubac. I want Zubac. To me, Zubac is just more consistent than Andre Drummond was last year.
Or Robert Covington, they might want.
I mean, Covington's not terrible.
I think he didn't play a lot this year. Is he still hurt?
I don't know.
Covington?
He didn't have a good year in Portland, and then they sent him to LA, and then, I don't know. They re-signed him because that's a new contract.
Is it okay?
Yeah. They gave him 2 more years. So and look, it's declining. 12, 3, 11.
So Joel, I'll go to you while we're looking at this. What do you see being the final destination for Kyrie Irving this season?
It really depends because I have to say, if I say that he stays in Brooklyn, which I think is like the highest percentage, is they figure something out.
Right.
That means he conceded. And I don't know if he's one of those people who concede.
Well, it depends because the way sports media makes it sound like is that he wants to stay. He just wants to be paid to stay, right? So it's like if they end up paying him, he didn't lose out. He didn't lose face. They paid him. So as long as they pay him, I think he's fine with it. It comes down to if his number is, I'm just making something up. I want 45 a year, right, for the next 4 years. And they're only willing to pay 28. That's conceding, and that's what I don't see him doing because somebody will pay Kyrie that money very stupidly.
It's not. I don't think it's money. I think a lot of people don't want the years. I think he wants like that, whatever they can give him 4 or 5 years, and they're like, "Fuck you. We'll give you like 1.5.
We'll give you 50 of the 82 games. How does that sound?" And it's the latter half of that. I don't know because to me. The years wouldn't really bother me. It's the money. Because if I'm not paying you that much money and dealing with the headache, I'm always fine with that, right? I can always find ways around that. But if I'm paying you all this money, no matter the years, that's just too much money for somebody as unreliable as you. Not on the court.
That's the problem. That's why it's going to be it's a hard market for him. That's why I don't think he has leverage. Because it's like everyone knows you're a headache. And now you're trying to use other teams as leverage, but they're all saying the same thing. Like, we're not giving you the years either.
And New York is just like, bitch, I tried to pay you this money years ago. It's not happening with us.
Don't you fucking use our names. Take it out of your mouth.
Take it out of your mouth. But I think the biggest thing for me is, Joel, is that if I'm Brooklyn, you want to know the one thing I'm taking as importance right now more so than anything? Because I know a lot of people are like, well, if Kyrie leaves, how do you know Durant will stay? To me, I'm more interested in building around what will be my future, which would be Ben Simmons, right? So I want to not only build around something that will be good for Durant in the short term, but something that can be good for Ben Simmons in the long term. You know what I'm saying? So for me, you got to think about that.
Is that he has one head case and another head case, and he's never going to leave. It's like one or the other. It's like he put himself in that position.
And unfortunately, he's dealt with a head case in each place. He's Russell Westbrook to Draymond, from Draymond to Kyrie, from Kyrie to Kyrie and Ben Simmons. God bless you. God bless you. Well, that is true. That man never takes a day off. But you can make a case that the Draymond plays hard every game. He's just an asshole. That's really what it came down to. Like he's one of those people that won't take Durant's crap because he's Durant. And that's where Durant was just like, that's where Durant was just like, I'm shocked you talk to me like that. And it's just like, well, I don't care who you are.
He's like, I came here to be the man. And like, bro, we were the best before you, bitch. That's what they
say. Like, come on now. You do know we had a ring here, right? Like, come on now. We got you your ring. What we talking right now?
That's true.
Okay, so essentially, Joel, so you essentially believe Nets might be the landing spot for him?
I would say they have the highest percentage, but I would say maybe the Lakers wouldn't be I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up getting traded to LA.
I would be really intrigued what that press conference will look like, because if I'm a reporter, I'm going to find a way to be a reporter if Kyrie goes to LA, because the first question I want to ask, I want to say, hey, Kyrie, how you doing? Glad you're in LA. First question is, How is it you changed up from wanting to be the man with the balls dangling to now being back on LeBron's scrotum? How did that switch up so quickly? Can you speak to that at all, please? Like, because I remember you telling us you didn't care about speaking to LeBron on the way out of the
first press
door.
conference, I don't suck balls. That's it. He walks off. What the fuck's that mean?
I detest what Juwaan asked me, and then just leaves. But no,
you see LeBron in the background pick up his shorts. What are you talking about?
Come back over here, Kyrie. To me, I see a guy who's been very adamant about being his own man. We didn't believe it when he decided to go to Brooklyn with Durant that he wanted to be his own man. So it'd be very apropos to see it come full circle, to where he just comes back to the knee of LeBron, just like, I need you. I do. I really need you. I couldn't win without you. Like, take me back, please. And LeBron would do it in a heartbeat. LeBron would do it in a heartbeat.
I think he would.
He would do it in a heartbeat. Mainly because LeBron needs to. LeBron cannot retire knowing he has as many rings as Steph Curry. That will not look good.
Fair.
When they go,
Fair.
How many times has Curry been to the finals? Like, how many? He's been to the finals of what? 6 times?
8.
Curry?
Six.
He's been 6, right?
6 and 8 years.
He's been to the finals 6 times and got 4 out of the 6. LeBron went to the finals 10 years and got 4 of them things out of the 10 trips to the finals. You got to at least get 5. Balance it somewhat. You got to get 5, right? Because then at least people
most
can
of those
go,
were against LeBron, too.
Right, and that's what hurts even more. But if LeBron can get to 5, at least people can go, well, that's what Kobe had. Kobe had 5, right? Kobe had 5. LeBron had 5. Jordan just had 1 more, right? He just had 1 more than those 2. Fine. But if you end with the same amount as Curry and Curry beat you to get 3 of them, ooh.
All on the same team.
Skip Bayless will lick his lips if that's how LeBron retires with 4 titles. He'll go, well, I mean, come on. He couldn't even beat Steph Curry. Steph Curry has the same amount. That'll be annoying. But all right, so you go Brooklyn as the best has the best odds. Didge, who do you think has the best odds? And if you say the Knicks, we will never podcast with you again.
No, I do think it's Brooklyn. I think regardless, like I said, if he hasn't opted out already, all of this is his ploy to get more money. But at the end of the day, like we've been saying so many times with these other players who could potentially opt out, are you really about to pass up that amount of money, not knowing if you're going to get it in the open market?
That's the question. That is the question. And look, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to who jumps. Who jumps first, right?
Yeah.
And if you're Brooklyn, I feel as though as long as you have a confirmation from Durant that he will stay here regardless of what Kyrie decides, to me, if I'm Brooklyn, that's all the leverage I need. I still got Kevin Durant. Like, you can go. I still have Kevin Durant. I'll just build around Kevin Durant.
Right.
And I got more money to do it. Yeah, I didn't have to sacrifice a whole bunch to do it. I'll just do that on my own. But if you're Kyrie, you're slowly losing all your leverage. Again, in the past 3 years, you have not been the most reliable. You just haven't. Your numbers are good, but that's when you're playing. Right? So to me, it's like you're losing your leverage. You really are. But all jokes aside, I'm going to use my 11-11 wish tonight that he goes back to LA just to sabotage LeBron. That's all I could ask for.
If he plays, that team is scarily good, though.
Sabotage.
You say that, but we thought Kyrie, Harden, and Durant was scary. They were all healthy, right?
On paper.
I don't know.
James Harden left, and then we saw a full playoff series of Kyrie and Durant, and their asses got swept.
Yep.
Swept.
The only thing they won is the Diva Cup.
Right.
I mean,
Joel, you're an ass.
That's rough. You don't think that LA team is better than what Brooklyn would have been on paper?
No, because here's the difference. Ready? James Harden hasn't missed games because of injury as much as Anthony Davis has. So I'm now banking on the fact that he's healthy.
Fair. I have no response to that.
And I'm sorry. How did LeBron's season go last year? He was injured a lot last season.
He still played almost 60 games.
No, he did. But the older he gets, can that hold? where you have a groin injury and you bounce back in a few months.
They say he puts $1 million into his body every offseason. He might up it to $2 million this year.
God bless it. His body might say, "Hey, ask him for a
Sixers
refund."
are apparently eyeing PJ Tucker.
They'll need
Who
it.
are?
They
PJ
need it.
Tucker.
He's been successful everywhere.
No, I'm saying what team? I didn't hear the team.
Sixers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's been successful everywhere he's gone.
He has. He really has.
But yeah, that's a. I don't know, man. I don't know. Kyrie, just go to the Lakers for me. That's all I ask for. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to. All right, so I wanted to do this, guys, before we move on to early draft thoughts and theories. I want to do something I thought would be fun. So, Didge, I'm going to start with you. Give me your overall season grade for the Bucks this season. And what are some of the things you would either like them to do or you think they need to do heading into the next season?
I'll give it a B+. We had all steam going for us going into the playoffs. Everything was looking well. Maybe the injury, there's not much you can do about it. But what happened in the playoffs that really shouldn't have happened was it seemed like the moment became too big for some of our stars, or not even stars, some of our players other than Giannis. It went back to the 2019, the 2018 Bucks, where when Middleton and Giannis both aren't on the court, doing the best that they can, it all falls just solely on Giannis. And I know it's like somebody said earlier, Drew definitely tried, but in Game 7 where we lost, our sharpshooters were 0-4. Like, I can't remember how many they put up, but they didn't make any. That can't happen. If you see that threes aren't falling, let's pivot. And at the same time, that falls a little bit on Coach Bud as well, whereas he went back to his old ways of, I don't know how to adjust. And you would think that it would be different when you saw that it worked so well winning us a championship last year. So I don't know why he didn't do it again this year. And I don't know how much of that is the injury, just sort of getting you frazzled or whatever. But let's not fall back into our old bad habits when we've shown that we can overcome them.
Yeah, I think you said a B+.
Yeah, I say B+.
I think that's a little too low, knowing that you were possibly, again, this is theoretically, you were possibly a healthy Chris Middleton away from being in the NBA Finals.
But we didn't make it. You have to lose a letter grade at least for that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It was definitely finals or bust this year. Now you could call me privileged about it. I don't care.
You hear that, Joel? You hear that? Finals or bust. When's the last time you said that as a Knicks fan? Finals or bust. Come on, Didge. And you think you're not privileged?
Yeah. That was the most privileged thing I've heard in a long time.
Come on.
Finals
it was the finals or bust. Anything other than at least going to the finals is sort of a failed season.
Didge, I just want you to remember this, right? Knicks right now, as far as just branding, building, we're at a table with some teams we should not be at a table with, right? And you're talking about finals or bust. We're looking across from the fucking Timberwolves, like, hey, how you doing? Like, it's lonely here, right? Like, we're talking to them, and you're sitting there just like, yeah, I'm here with like Golden State and the Celtics. And, we're championship.
You just gotta promise me the next time you say finals or bust, you do it with your finger on your nose like this. You bougie ass.
I think that's a fair statement. I feel like it should be always finals or bust for any team. Isn't it always finals or bust for any team?
Hell no, it ain't no finals or bust for any team. Man,
Isn't that the goal?
If you think for a second that the Hornets dribbled a basketball this year, thinking a championship was in their grasp, you got your goddamn mind.
That's always the goal. It's always finals or bust.
That's what you tell yourself. That's what you tell yourself. That's what you tell yourself. That's like when a parent's like, hey, I don't have a favorite child. You 100% do. But you tell yourself that you don't, so you believe it. You 100% look at one child and go, you are just better than them. Like I won't say it out loud, but you are better than them.
I feel like it should always be finals or bust for any team.
It should be a mindset, but in reality, no, that is not something obtainable by all. I
feel like every team goes into the league or goes into the season saying this is our year.
Yep. Now walk me through how the Pistons applied that logic.
They tried their best. They tried their best every day, and it just wasn't enough sometimes.
Right. And their best highlight of the season was homeboy fighting LeBron. You're telling me everybody's thought should be finals or bust.
Right,
come on, Didge.
I feel like that is the case, what it should be.
That's what it should be. That is not obtainable by everybody.
All right, fair enough.
All right, Joel. Give me your grade for the Knicks this year, and what are some of the things you would like to see them do, and some of the things you think they need to do?
Oh.
You want me to light the cigarette and pass it? You okay?
that looks so stressed. I feel like I watched Joel age like 20 years in that one face. Just that one this.
The grade? Because you tell me to grade the year.
Mm-hmm.
What was their
record? It doesn't have to be a good one. It doesn't have to be a good one.
I know it doesn't have to be a good one, but I want to try to be
what was their record? That'll help.
Crap, bitch bullshit.
I'm not even sure.
37 and 45.
37 and 45. It was
the 11th seed.
11th seed. That's right. We're just
6 games out of the bubble, or not of the bubble, but out of the play-in.
I'm about to say, whoa. You went back to 2020? Like, you moonwalking? But grade them, Joel.
Obviously, it's not a good grade. I'm gonna say they got a C. I would have gave them a fucking D, but it wasn't for the way that they ended the season with the kids. They would have got a D. I wouldn't say it was a failure because that would have been like the bottom of the barrel type of shit. Right. But you can't give them good grades because they just kind of felt like they went backwards in every way almost.
Well, C is get degrees, so you gave them at least something.
I mean, there's progress. That's why I said C.
I graduated.
At the end there, we saw some progress. It's not last year, which you could have gave a B plus, A minus type to shit too. It's a 4th seed, so it's a step back. So I got to give at least a C. They did not do nearly as well as they did the year before. They obviously, like, Julius took a step back, which in turn gave us, everybody else took a step back. Like, the team took a step back because of it. We didn't get to see a lot of the youth play really until the end of the year. We set way too many minutes with Alec Burks at point guard. Like, what the fuck? That was bad. That you lost us a whole full grade because of that shit.
I'm docking points as you speak.
That was not good. We probably we won games by accident at the end. Honestly, let's be real. Like, we shouldn't have won those games because we were playing the youth, but we were winning those games. So, like, it's like it was one of those moments where you're like, well, he's not trying to lose those games, but we should be losing those games because those are technically the worst players, right? Because they're the kids.
Yes.
Well, that's when he had an epiphany. He's like, you know what? Maybe they're better than I thought.
I can just see Tibbs leaning over to his coaching staff like, these kids are pretty fucking good. And they're like, yeah, we drafted them, Tibbs. Like, we didn't draft because we thought they were bad. Yeah,
why didn't you tell me this earlier?
Yeah, like, why didn't you tell me this to start the season? Johnny's like, you didn't see me every practice talking to just Emmanuel quickly? Like, what'd you think that was about? That's my guy. Yeah. You know what, Joel? I'm gonna piggyback off of you. I'm gonna go C+.
All right.
Ooh,
and I'm gonna go C+ only because
practically honor roll.
To me, yes, it was a drop off from the season before, but we got a lot of good out of this year. We know that now Obi Toppin is ready. We know RJ is ready. We know Quickly is ready to ascend into that starting position. We know that Grimes is ready to be that knockdown shooter. We know Jericho Sims is ready. So if anything, what it taught me was if we had a coach that was competent enough, this is a pretty good that youth movement is a pretty good roster to put out on the floor every night. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about we'll be right there with the championship teams, but I believe that team can surprise a lot in the ways that the Grizzlies did. You know what I'm saying? Given enough time to grow together, I think they can have a leap that big. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I do believe that there's a lot of people that don't know that because they're not used to seeing them play. So
Right.
that's impossible. They're not that good.
Yeah,
but I'm
they're
like,
like,
bro,
you
you
don't
haven't
have
seen what
anybody
we
that
see.
good.
You weren't
Right.
there. You know what I mean?
And you know what's funny, Joel? There are probably Grizzly fans last year that were saying, oh, Desmond Bane, fucking Jamorant, like, just give him another year. Like, I liked what I saw last year, or whatever the case may be. And they made that leap. You know,
It's crazy to me to hear how much you guys turned on Julius Randle. Because obviously, I didn't watch a lot of Knicks games. I think I watched maybe 2 or 3. So I only can look at the numbers to see how they translate it. And it's like, other than his 3-point percentage, nothing really changed.
Okay, now,
Except
because
we
you didn't
lost.
watch games, here's what did change. The shots weren't going in like they did last year.
His field goal percentage is very, very much the same. It went from 45 to 41.
What do we always say, Didge? When a player has 30 and loses, the question is always, well, when did you get that 30? Because clearly, if you lost, it wasn't when it counted. It might have been all in the first half. And
Fair.
also, the other biggest issue with Julius Randle that isn't statistic, but you got to watch to see it, is that he is legit possibly a horrible decision maker with the ball in his hand.
That's what I was gonna say. It's got to be something with the intangibles and the effort, because
That's usually, bro. Me and Joel watched the game together where Julius Randle watched somebody make a shot, didn't put a hand up, didn't move, nothing, and you're just looking at him and you're like, that's effort. Like, you didn't even have to break a sweat to put a hand. You put a hand up. You know what I'm saying? Even if it does nothing, he's already in the air. Put a hand up, something.
Look, the
Also-
numbers don't tell you what we saw.
Yes.
it's also crazy to realize, to see it in actual numbers. Like, this has nothing to do with to see. Apparently, he made 2.3 out of 5.5 3-pointers last year. That's 41%. It went from that to 1.7 to 5.4 is an 11% drop off.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. It's to see how close those numbers are to see that drop off.
Yeah, and here's another thing that happened in the game that's not stat-based. We were playing Phoenix against Cameron Johnson. I don't think CP3 played that game.
Okay.
Booker and those guys. Randall was giving them the fucking business, right? Then he mentally exploded, went to fight Cameron Johnson, got ejected, right? So he's out, right? He got ejected in that game. Now, the guy that Julius Randle was giving the business to all night ended that said game with 30 points and then hit the fucking game-winning shot. So you took yourself out of a game where you were giving him the business, right? Where you were making him work hard, right? He had to work hard on both ends. You then got ejected. He then said, I'm going to have the game of my life. That's leadership. You got to at least be there to try to help your team in those situations.
I will give you that. They do show that in here. Like, he got ejected more this year. He had more text this year.
Yeah,
he had less double doubles. He had, I do see that too.
He was upset this year. He was not in the right headspace.
And I do want to say this, Joel, because I think, and it's not by you, Didge. This is just an overall narrative amongst Knicks Twitter. Nobody turned on Julius Randle. Joel remembers me saying this at the end of last year. I saw year 1, unstable Julius Randle. Year 2, godsend. I said to Joel last year, I'm very curious, is he one of those players that just has an off and on season? Like, your averages are just bad, good, right? So I said, I'm looking to see what Julius gives me in year 3 as a Knick, for me to see who he really is. And he looked a lot like year 1 in year 3 rather than year 2. So I didn't turn on Julius Randle. His play resulted in me going, I want someone who can be more consistent and also be a leader.
That's the problem.
You know what I'm saying?
He is at his best. He can even play some small forward. Okay. I 100% believe he could play 3. He could play 4. He could play 5. Yeah. He's not a bad passer.
Nope.
Not a good passer. But he's not a bad passer.
No. He's not Draymond Green.
He's not. His shot was so wet last year compared to this year. It's insane. Like, the drop off. Like, he couldn't make fucking anything certain games. And last year, like, he was Kobe Bryant. That's what it felt like. He was clutch. I was like, this guy was just making shit on everybody. Nobody could stop him like that year. You have no one. It was the craziest thing in the world. That's why he got paid. He looked almost unstoppable some games. He really did. And that opposite, he couldn't adapt to it not going in anymore. Once the ball stopped going in, he didn't want to change. He could have, because if he changed his game and just went, look, I'll bully my way. No one's stopping me. I'll go right into the basket. He'll miss some layups. Dunk the ball, man. Just dunk the ball. He did it some games he didn't. So he forced the issue too much. The reason his percentages were down because they were mostly jump shots that were not falling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's my biggest issue with Julius Randle. I always say, if the ball's not going down, that's fine. You just have to find other ways to be effective, right? And it's like, well, Julius, you draw a double team every time up the court. Those should be fucking bank shots for Fournier, bank shots for Grimes, bank shots for RJ. But no, he'll run into the double team and then look around for who's going to bail me out. Why did you run into
That's another difference from his first year with us compared to his second year. His first year, he would spin into double teams and turn over the ball. The second year, he barely did that.
Right.
It rarely ever had. And then he came back to it. It came back.
Yeah.
The spinning turnover came back.
I understand a little bit more now. I opened up also a can of worms.
No, because I hear it a lot on Nick's.
They're wounds.
I hear it a lot on Nick's Twitter that, we turned on Julius Randle. And to me, I'm like, turning would be nothing about Julius Randle changed, but now all of a sudden we just don't like him. And I think people who say that are people who, like you were saying, Didge, you got to watch all 82 games of this motherfucker to get a really good grasp on who he is as a player and a leader. Didge, there was a game where we won, and he stormed off the court while his teammates were celebrating. That's the individual Julius Randle was last year. And then Obi Toppin goes to him to say, hey, calm down. He snatches away from Obi and storms off while the rest of the team celebrates on the court. That's what we had to deal with last year. And it wasn't just on and off. That was Julius more nights than not. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't a turn on him. It wasn't. It really wasn't. But if anything, last year taught me that, like I said, RJ is ready. He's ready to take that step. And you're hearing it a lot from a lot of big name players that just rave about RJ. What's his name? Jimmy Butler was raving about him in that 40-point loss against Miami this year. Tracy McGrady in a recent interview was raving about him. Kyrie on a stream playing Fortnite weirdly was raving about RJ Barrett. So I'm like, the league sees it. As long as RJ can start to live up to it, I'm very excited to see what RJ does.
He took another step this year. It was really nice to see. There were games where you're like, wow, he's doing it.
Yeah. And you know what's even crazier, Didge? I think the best skill he's really starting to develop. Again, he didn't perfect it this year, but I can give you a game where it looked like he did. His defense, that game against the Bulls, where DeMar DeRozan was taking that last-second shot over RJ, and RJ got a hand up enough to kind of throw him off on that shot that he missed for our first win in Chicago. Remember when they were undefeated and we got the first win against we gave them their first L? That was that game. So I'm like, RJ showed a lot where he could be really good defensively, really, really, really good. So I'm like, he's starting to develop. Yeah, but I'm saying, Joel, what do we always say? If RJ could be half of what Jimmy Butler is, or better, that's a gift.
And look, technically his percentages are worse than last year. I was way more. He turned it on after New Year's. From that point on, he was a different player.
Yeah, RJ definitely is one of those people that says "New Year, new me." That's what happens.
He literally did. I ain't holding back anymore. This is my team. He took over the team after New Year's. It was his team. Then he made everyone know it.
Yes, it was. Yes,
and
it was.
And that's why another reason Julius is in. Wait a minute, it's my team.
Yeah, it's not anymore. it's not. We took that from you. Pass that on. Pass the baton.
At that time I felt bad because it's got to be mentally exhausting hearing everyone cheer everyone's name but yours, and then boo when you come in, and then you know what I mean. It's got to be the worst.
Well, look. Here's the thing. Guess what? Greatness usually doesn't get that from anything but the opposing crowd, right? You've never heard Kobe walk into Staples Center and get booed. You've never heard LeBron walk into any stadium and get booed by his home crowd, right?
Right.
So if you're Julius, that needs to be your next step, right? Wherever you go, hopefully not here, but wherever you go, that needs to be your next step. Is that
Hopefully not here.
you're playing so well, it makes it almost impossible for someone in your home to root against you, right? That's all I'm saying. That's something he should work on. But all right, let's move on. Joel, I want to start off with you on this. What are your early draft predictions? Like, what are some of the things you see? What are some of the names you see going? Let's just do top 5. Let's stick to top 5. I don't want you guys to. We'll worry about the full draft next week when we break it down. What do you see the top 5 being, and do you see any movement on if they switch out?
Well, obviously, when we get there, I will talk about it. But I do believe everything seems to be pointing to it being really a 3-man draft, 4-man at best. Even though you could make an argument for 5, but it's really 4, right? Orlando has first pick.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of different projections about who was going to go first. A very popular choice is Chet Holmgren. Now,
but a lot of recently has been Jabari Smith.
Exactly, and that's who I had him number 1 for the longest time, and I still believe he should go number 1. Not saying he will, because there's a part of me that actually really wants to see Chet go to Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he fits there. I think it would be really good for him to go to Oklahoma City.
To me, Orlando and OKC to me are the best places because it's small expectations. So it gives you all the possibility to improve. Mm-hmm. But if you go to some of those franchises that feel as though they're just a U away from turning that whole franchise around, then that we've seen players shrink at the sight of that ceiling. Right? Because remember when Aaron Gordon got drafted, I thought Aaron Gordon was extremely talented. What you needed him to be was a Dwight Howard replacement that he could never have been, right?
No.
So then it was just like, well, damn, you're a bust. He's not a bust. He's just not a franchise-changing right. He's not a franchise-altering player. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean he can't be a really good player.
I mean, he's been a starter. It's not like he's
not a bum. I mean, you can say the same about Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo looked to where he was going to bring Orlando out of the dungeon, right?
Wasn't in Orlando that he bloomed.
Right. It just wasn't there. But also, I don't think they did the best to help him bloom.
Orlando's not the easiest place to bloom. You gotta be in the right situation. They have a lot of guards there, so it's good for Orlando to go big. Whether it's Jabari, Chet, or Paolo, I'd probably go big regardless. But I would probably say Jabari Smith. I think he got all the tools, man.
That was who the last I heard. Everything that I've been hearing so far has still been that
Jabari.
They're pretty sure that Orlando's taking him, Chet going to Oklahoma City, and then Paolo going to Houston.
Yeah, that seems like the easiest choices right now. So Chet might go to OKC, Jabari at 1, and I would probably go with Houston.
I feel like those 3 are for sure consensus top 3. Number 4 is where it really gets interesting.
Yeah.
I like what you guys said for top 3 because you know what I'm hearing? 3 places that don't need a guard. That's all I'm hearing there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much.
Luckily,
3 places that don't need Ivy. That's all I heard.
And that's why I said
out of your mouth.
That's why I said number 4 is where it gets interesting because Ivy.
They also don't need a guard.
They don't, but it's one of those I think best player available, and it's one of those things where is Sacramento going to trade out of it? And from everything I've been seeing, there's been more and more rumors. Of course, give it to New York.
No. Tell you what. If you say, you know what, we're going to draft the best player available, and you go for Ivy, no problem. I'll gladly take De'Aaron Fox in a heartbeat. I'll take him tomorrow. Give him right over. Fuck it.
Okay.
I'll take him. Sure. Hell yeah. That I wasn't worried about because I'm like, shit, if you're the Knicks, get either or.
Right.
Call them up and go, hey, are you drafting Ivy? You are. No problem. Yeah. I'll take De'Aaron Fox.
That's the problem. Like, I don't see him. They could work together, but, like, nobody worked together. I mean, you had a great compliment to him already, and you traded him.
Yes.
I don't see Ivy being a better compliment than what you already had. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And Joel,
and they still have Davion Mitchell.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say I think what hurts Ivy and De'Aaron Fox playing together is I don't think either one of them is necessarily a better shooter than the other. So it's like, well, one of you has to play best off ball, but both of them's I in my opinion, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I think where they're both best at is driving the basketball, is essentially their speed. It's not shooting necessarily. I'm not saying they're the worst shooters ever.
I would say for Fox is his speed, pure speed. For Ivy is he's probably the best athlete in the fucking draft.
Right.
You know, so it's like, and he can shoot. He's not the most consistent shooter, but he's not a bad shooter.
Well, they were comparing him a lot to Jamorant, and we've seen Jamorant is not the greatest shooter, but when you need a shot, he can knock that shit down.
I say the biggest difference between him and Jamorant is that Ja's a better playmaker.
Oh,
you know, he's more of a pure point guard than Jay. He's definitely played more off ball. And especially in college, he's had moments where he wasn't the man with the ball, basically. You know what I mean?
Right. But see, that's why, Joel, in our opinion, if we were able to make that trade and get him, I could do quickly Ivy RJ, right? Because we've said at different times we wanted quickly to develop into a playmaker. And we said at other times we wanted RJ to develop into a playmaker. Absolutely. So it's like, if I can get a playmaker out of any one of those three, I'm fine. But they can all three play together. There is no, you know what I'm saying? Because there's things RJ does that Ivy can't, or things Quickly does that Ivy can't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they can blend together. I
think he would fit perfectly. It's just a matter of getting what they want, what they're gonna need to get up. Because from 11 to 4 is a big jump.
Everything
so
but like, the kitchen sink, and then maybe even that.
We'll see. I don't want to give up everything. But I we'll see what's gonna take. As of right now, if I'm Sacramento and I keep the pick, I say just take it and do what they did with fucking what's his name? Halliburton.
Oh yes, gotcha.
Just,
which is again was a head scratcher. Like, huh? Him? You traded him away?
That was
everybody you could have traded away.
He was available.
Because it was one of those where it was just like, well, I have to imagine, and again, this is just my opinion. If you asked me who was I going to trade away, Fox or him, I would have traded Fox away easily. I feel as though Halbert just does more than Fox does, right? So I'm like, I would have kept that. Because to me, I've had Fox on my roster long enough to see what he can be, right? I feel as though with the Kings, not in his career, with the Kings, he's hit his ceiling. He can't get any better than what he is for Sacramento right now.
Right.
I'm not saying that he can't go to a different team and sprout, but that's it. Halbert, you just got. Do you want to maybe give him time to see if he can become a star? What the hell?
We're good. We just vibes over here.
It's true.
God bless him, man.
No
God
plans,
bless
just
him.
vibes.
God bless him. I swear I feel like the Kings are looking for a DeMarcus Cousins, Chris Webber replacement. They just keep trading so they get that big. That elevates them to where they need to be. I swear.
They hope it's Sabonis now. Right?
Yeah, and you know it's crazy? Because to me, I feel like Orlando and Sacramento have been trying to milk that formula for years. And it's like, dog, at some point, you don't think maybe, all right, let me build around a guard.
Nah.
Let me build around a wing. Can you stop with the big man?
We're taking it back to the 90s.
Damn, they annoy me. But Joel, before I pass it to Didge, you've only given 4. So what do you see number 5 doing?
It seems like it's going to be Keegan Murray. Detroit. He's a combo forward, more like a Tobias Harris type. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I did hear that. Okay.
From Iowa. He's from Iowa. It seems like he's like he'll probably be the next best player after Jaden Ivey. But like, there's a lot of players you can maybe they take a chance with Shaedon Sharpe, but there's a lot of. He's the mystery man of the draft. Like, he hasn't played all year. What are you gonna get out of him? He could be a fucking boom, or he could be a bust.
Yeah,
that's the scary part. He's like, oh, here's the golden ticket, mystery golden ticket. We don't know what's inside. Like,
so
that's the scary part.
So, Didge, as I pass it to you, ESPN has for their top available prospects, right? Just 5. Just naming 5. They got Chet, Paolo, Jabari, Jaden, and Jalen Duren. That's their 5. That's their 5 that they have. Yeah. Okay. That's their 5 that they have. So how do you see it panning out, Didge?
I can't see a center going top 5.
Yeah. No.
So that takes Jalen Duren out of the top 5.
But
now,
let me ask you this: if you're Detroit, could they use it?
More than a guard, or no? Because if we're saying it's Keegan Murray, he's a forward.
Yeah, because I'm like, you don't need another guard. You just drafted.
Well, they could use a shooting guard.
They could definitely use a shooting guard.
Sure, but I'm saying right now, thinking about what this league looks like,
let's look at their
what
roster.
seems like it's easier to find, a shooting guard or a big man?
There's a lot of shooting guards, but they just remember they traded for what's his name last year, Marvin Bagley.
They have and then they still have
Isaiah Stewart.
Luke Garza's very young. I mean, they still got a couple of young people.
We'll see. He's a project, I think. Garza.
He's definitely a project, but they have a couple of young centers. They got the other guy,
Stewart's good.
Isaiah Stewart. Yeah.
I don't know if he's a long-term starter, but he's definitely going to be a rotational guy. You know.
No, if you drafted a 5 this year, he'd be out.
But that's what I'm saying. I think Isaiah Stewart. I'm looking at it now. He's 21. He's very young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got a couple young prospects at center. It would all come down to, do you think that he's going to be? Do you think that Jalen Duren is a game changer? Like, do you think he's a franchise changing player? If not, I think you do go get the forward.
Murray.
Keegan Murray.
And this is a question. This isn't me challenging what you're saying. This is just a question. To me, does it really come down to that? Because to me, if he's even, I don't want to say serviceable because that makes it sound like a waste of a draft pick.
Right.
But if he's anything less than a game changer, does that feel like a waste?
It's interesting because you said that ESPN has him as the 5th best prospect, whereas on NBA's, on theirs, they have Murray as their 5th best. So it's that's where I'm going as what are your scouts saying? Obviously, we're just going off of the media scouts, but if your scouts are putting them, let's assume your scouts are putting them in the same, I guess, tier. Mm-hmm. Then it's like, now you're going off of, do you think that he's that game changer? Otherwise, let's give our recently drafted big man a chance to develop a little bit more. You're not one player away from winning a championship.
100%.
You're not one player away from even probably making the playoffs. So
but that's why I was asking about, well, do you necessarily need a game changer? Because you're not just a game changer away. But I look at it, and look, I understand you completely, because to me, I would take this risk if I was in from 8 to 15. So I get you. At number 5, that's very crucial, right? That's one of those you don't pass it.
The Pelicans, they have a top 10 pick. If I was them and I felt if this, obviously not saying that they need a center or anything, but if this was the same sort of makeup, but it's the Pelicans who just went to the playoffs, who just had a really good series, then yes, maybe I look at, okay, I think he could be.
That's a really good example because to me, there's no pressure on that pick because Valanciunas. Is it Valanciunas? Who's their it's Valanciunas, right? Yeah, it's Valanciunas. He was great for them last year. So I'm like, if your rookie comes in and is really good, great. If he comes in and he's struggling to start, you have a serviceable big you can just hold on to mentor him till he's ready. So I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. That's why I said I was asking.
I know.
Just asking. So who do you got going in the top 5 to what teams?
So, like I had said, when Joel brought up his 4, I had agreed with his first 4. It's everything. Those 4 for sure. 5th is where I'm a little bit. I don't know too much about the Pistons. Their day in and day out.
Like roster or organization as a whole?
Organization as a whole. Like the roster, I've looked at it.
I can speak to roster, not organization as a whole.
Right. So like I've been looking at their roster. They're young pretty much across the board. I think their oldest player is Kelly Olynyk. And he's 31. So but even so, it's weird because I don't know if you want to take, because they have Jeremy Grant. That's probably their 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeremy's gonna end up getting traded.
I was just about to say, yeah, his name's been talked about since last year, since this past season.
I don't think they plan on keeping him, so that's why.
Then that is your reason to take Keegan Murray. If you're sure you're trading Jeremy Grant, because that would have been my thing to take a hold off. Is you got Jeremy Grant, who's also still very young. Don't draft another top 5 player that's basically his position.
Right.
So let me ask you this. What the Pistons have? What pick again? The 5th.
5th.
If you
could trade it, you might want to trade it.
I was about to say
talk to them about trading for it.
If you're the Pistons, because you guys are saying trade it, but if you're the Pistons, could you just to get off of Grant, double up and trade with the Kings? Because apparently the Kings are looking for somebody like Grant, right? So I'm like, could you offer them Grant and maybe a future pick to get those 2 picks?
I mean, they have someone like Grant. I guess they want someone younger.
Younger than how old is Grant?
They have Harrison Barnes. I'm saying. I mean, they have someone like
28.
Oh! I'm sorry. I thought you were saying Grant was old. I'm like, isn't Grant young?
He's 28.
He's 20. I'm sorry.
He's not old.
Poor Didge. Didge is like, I've been saying 28 for like 20 minutes. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm in my own head.
It's no worries. I thought you were just gonna go off like 28's not old, and it's like it's not, but it's not the youngest.
Old, not at all. No, and again, to me, when I talk basketball age, they're talking about your prime being in those years of 28, 29, 30. Right? So to me, I'm like, if they're talking about you're now about to enter your prime, it can't be in basketball years. That old. Like, they're talking about you're about to enter your prime.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it can't be that old in basketball years. Because shit, in the NFL, we be talking about if as a running back, if you're not good in the first 3, you're out of here. Like, fuck your age. Can you run? If not, I don't think you can get any better the older you get, right? So it's like for basketball, the older you get, they believe it's the better you get. So for me, 28, I don't think it's bad. And I think Grant is an upgrade for not really. No.
I think if they can get a point, and I would say trade it unless they can get a point guard. Looking at their depth, point guard might be, and again,
wait, the Pistons?
Yeah.
Hell no, I don't want to. I was about to say, hell no. Cade again can't shoot that well either. I don't want to put somebody like Ivy next to him.
But Cade's a shooting guard.
He's a point guard.
No, he's a point guard.
They got Corey Joseph running their point.
Yeah, but they play them together. They play them together.
So like he's definitely
they do. Guard. They run a Dallas offense.
That's funny. Yeah, I like that. Because honestly, when you think about it, you do look at it and you're like, well, Brunson plays the point guard, but he's definitely a fucking shooting.
So if you're gonna then get a shooting guard, then you don't have to worry, because that's where I was going off of. I know that they run Corey Joseph, and I forgot about that till very recently that they run him as their point a lot. But if you can get a true shooting guard, and then you can make Cade be the point guard again.
They had Corey Joseph there because it helped Cade.
Fair.
But, it just helped him on the way. So he had extra help, in the backcourt.
Right.
So until he eased into that role,
Right. Yeah. I don't know. To me, I'm like, if you're the Pistons, I'm like, could you trade out of that pick? Yes. Right. Even let's say theoretically, Joel, we get a trade with the Pistons to get that 5th pick. I have no faith. I'm sorry. I have all the faith in the world that the Kings will be petty as fucking draft Ivy. I 100% fucking.
No, I would only do it if we had a deal with the Kings. Like, I'll get the 5th. Like, you give me the point.
We'll just switch, right? You take Randall. Let me get that 4. You take the 5, right? We can make it work. Come on.
They're not
Don't be
taking
a bitch.
Randall, but
And you know what? This is the conversation I had with my brother earlier, because he was saying. Let me read you exactly what he was saying. So he was talking to me about, he was like, one thing I don't understand is how can the Kings and Blazers be interested in Jeremy Grant or John Collins, but nobody wants Randall and he's better than all of them. And I was telling him, well, if you're the Kings, Randall and Sabonis on the same team just literally cancel each other out. Because there's nothing one does that the other can't do. There might be something that the other one does better, but there is nothing that either one has in their arsenal that the other can't do.
I agree.
Right? So it's like
Especially
that
with John
cancels.
Collins' choice. I agree. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, you now are talking about something that complements Sabonis. And that would be either Grant or Collins. They would complement.
I think Grant complements them more than because Grant plays defense.
Right.
And he can play 3 or 4. Whereas
Right.
John Collins is very similar to me to Julius. Like,
right.
I might as well just take Julius if that's the case.
Yeah, because I mean, look, if you put Julius and Sabonis on the same team, you're looking at the Kings essentially being exactly what the Lakers were this year with LeBron and Russell Westbrook. It's essentially, all right, well, neither one of you are the greatest shooters ever, right? And both of you need the basketball because you don't shoot. So what do you do now? Now you're talking about you have to put LeBron in scenarios where he's on the bench to give Russell Westbrook time to play, and then Russell's on the bench to give LeBron time. They should never end the games on the court together, but unfortunately you're paying him so much, you fucking have to, right? So it's like, you don't want that if you're Sacramento to where you're going, all right, I got to play Julius at the 5 and Sabonis at the 4. But neither are the best defenders, right? And essentially come into the game, they do the same thing.
But that's Bradley Bill's going to decline his option, apparently.
Yeah.
Good for him. We were just talking about that.
Like,
yeah. Thank you, Bradley Beal.
That means he's gonna get paid, but by who?
I'm telling you right now, there are at least 13 teams in the NBA that said, "Fuck this year's draft pick." What's good with Bradley Beal?
it's still a rumor, but a lot of people are reporting it right now.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, the draft has changed. If that's true, the draft changed completely. There will be one of those top 10 teams that say, "I want Bradley Beal."
Let me see if I can
give me Bradley Beal. Give it to me.
Let me see 100%. If I could find any. Oh wait, maybe I don't know because now he tweeted out. Wait, what? But it's like, who knows what's going on?
Oh no.
Yeah, who knows? To me, you guys know I'm not big on college, so the draft is something that I usually wait to see the highlights for to really get a feel of some of these names that are associated with my said team. But I spent a lot of time watching Ivy. And that's where my heart is. So I'm gonna need Sacramento or the Pistons to get up off that. You know what I'm saying? Get up off of it. You know what I'm saying? Look, Ian Begley was talking about names like Cam Reddish might have to be traded.
You're more likely to have to say Sacramento needs to get off of it because I think they take him at 4 if he's there.
And I just told you, I don't mind as long as they're willing to give us De'Aaron Fox. I'll take it. I will take it. I will. I'm sorry. I'll take that in a heartbeat.
Okay.
I will. If the Knicks can't get that 4 or 5 and the Kings end up drafting Ivy, I need the first call the Knicks make to be, well, I will gladly give you Kemba Walker, a box of Skittles, and some cigarettes
for De'Aaron Fox.
Like, what's good with that? They even make that happen? I'll take that. Joel, do you disagree? If we can't get Ivy, is De'Aaron Fox something that'll...
I'll take De'Aaron Fox, yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that.
For the right price.
Yeah, again, I'm not leveraging half my roster for that guy, but if you're telling me it don't take much, especially if you're telling me I just got to give you my 11th,
and look, if they do take Jaden Ivey and they roll with it, just wait them like half a year or two. They'll trade one of them.
You know what? You know what it's going to end up being for us, Joel? It's going to end up being exactly the situation Dennis Smith Jr. was, where we didn't draft him and everyone thought they should have. We finally got him, and he was nothing like we were hoping he would be.
That was the worst fucking draft for us because, like, even what we wanted didn't work out.
Yeah, we finally got him, and we're not talking about we got him in year 15. We got him in like year 3, and it was like, what happened? Who are you? Like,
he fell off the face of the earth. I don't know what happened to Dennis.
Completely fell off the face of the earth. God bless him. All right, let's move on. Joel, let's talk these Jazz uniforms because,
let's do it.
These were something. I tell you what, if anything, Donovan.
You mean the Oregon Ducks uniforms?
Donovan Mitchell should leave.
Just the Oregon Ducks uniforms.
Yeah.
Oregon Duck uniforms.
So walk me through, Joel, because you're big on jersey look. So
I
what are
am.
your
I
thoughts on
fucking love when there's new colors and new jerseys and new logos. I don't know why, but I get to update the colors on my spreadsheet. It's amazing. It's the plainest fucking jerseys I've seen in a long time. Aside from the purple. The purple is back jersey, as they like to call it, but the fucking is one of them. How is purple back and the rest of the jerseys black and gold? Like, I'm very confused.
They're so bad.
They're just they're very uninspiring looking at them. I don't even know what the main logo is anymore. I look. It's just the note.
I think that's it.
Note, right? Yeah.
There's no letter. There's no Utah Jazz. It's just the note.
No, I think it's just the music note. Like, let's see.
Let's
go to their.
That's the most, again, plain. And the player they went to, and I don't even know which one's the away and which one's the home, even though they're called iconic and association.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which is which. I know the black is the state. The dark, they call it dark mode. And then, of course, the purple one. What do you call that?
I think that's their city edition. Is that what they usually call it?
Is that city? Even though it says Jazz on it. Like, I mean, it's very old school looking. And I know next year they're gonna have a newer purple one, and or they're gonna have more. I don't know. They said purple's back and it's gonna stay back, but I'm like, that's not. They didn't go back to purple. It's just part of their ensemble. Like, so you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, black and gold seems to be the new color scheme. And I'm okay with that because it's not a bad color scheme. It's just the jerseys are boring. You know what I mean?
The jerseys are so boring.
Yeah, it's just very like what?
Honestly, go ahead, Ditch.
I was gonna say I wasn't kidding when I said it looks like an Oregon Ducks uniform. It looks like
no, you're not wrong.
Like it looks like Oregon was like, well, let's throw out this. This is our blackout game. This is our yellow out game.
Yeah,
like that. These are just the jerseys and you take it from them because Oregon gets like 100 jerseys a year. So you're like, all right, cool. For that one game, let's all wear all yellow, everyone. But it's like for you to wear this for presumably 30 to 40 games in a season, it just, like you said, it just doesn't inspire anything. It looks like a 2K jersey.
I'll definitely say this. I haven't been excited for a jersey since Miami went all black that year when LeBron joined up. And I haven't been this disgusted by a jersey since Knicks introduced that fucking all-orange Christmas jersey.
The South Beach Miami jerseys are great. I love every iteration of their South Beach jerseys.
Joel, that shit was a fucking eyesore. Like, that shit was horrible. Oh my God.
Let me look it up.
St. Patty's Day jerseys were way worse.
Those jerseys were so bad, the Knicks said, all right, no more of this shit.
Are you talking about – you're not talking about the one that's in cursive, are you?
No.
So then it's the Knicks. You said it's all orange, so it has to be this one.
It's from like 6 years ago or some
Hold
shit.
on, I'm gonna send it to the group chat. Let me know if that's the one that you guys are talking about. This one is pretty.
Let's see, and then I'll send it.
I didn't mind because we were the problem with the Knicks jerseys aren't exactly the most creative. Until recently, I do like a lot of their shitty jerseys now. Where they have black jerseys finally.
Yeah, they've gotten really great. Bringing in Steve Stout and those guys, they've gotten really, really good with the designs of these.
Yeah, I really have like
yes.
Oh yeah, those are pretty bad.
Oh no, those are bad. Those are bad, but those were only for Christmas.
Yeah, that's
the one I'm not talking about those.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm just saying. I didn't mean for a season. I'm saying I haven't been disgusted by looking at a jersey since that.
But that was for a game. That was one game.
It still doesn't change that it was horrible.
Those are pretty bad.
It was just horrible.
Those are ugly.
An eyesore.
Those are ugly. That's not the one I was talking about. I'll show you.
No, I know the one you're talking about. I don't have a problem with that one. That is the one I'm talking about. Yeah,
these ones are great. I loved the Christmas year that all the teams had these type of jerseys. I love it.
Yeah, I was fine with that. I was fine with that.
I've been really into the new black, like last year's black jersey, this year's black jersey.
Yeah, Miami's back in black jersey, and then their South Beach jerseys or Miami Vice.
Every iteration of the South Beach jerseys have been great.
Yeah, they hit on their jerseys.
You know what I really liked? The city edition for the Jazz, the ones that has it looks like what's it called? It looks like a sunset. And then the next year they did it was like Sunrise, or was vice versa.
Oh,
I love those.
I know what
jerseys.
you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Those are cool fucking jerseys, bro. I'm like,
yeah.
that is so
Those look like the old Nuggets jerseys, though.
this?
Oh no, okay, never mind. I know what you're talking. No, I see.
Oh no, they do, but I like
Jazz
the color.
one. I know
The color fits better. Yeah, I know what you mean. Nuggets have like rainbows. That's weird.
Yeah.
But I love those Jazz jerseys, and now they got these shit.
No, these Knicks jerseys are awful. I'll agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
these
Watching that Christmas game was just like I had to turn my contrast down. That shit was bright as fuck, dude.
These ones look like those jerseys that you would see at Ross.
I think that was the
like those team jerseys where it's like it's not really the team's jersey, but it's kind of the team's jersey. It's like those ones you would see.
Yes, 100%. That's like when someone can't afford to get you a real jersey, so they get you that.
They get you one from like Ross or like from like what is it, from Marshalls?
And instead of Carmelo, it's Caramel Anthony. Go ahead and put on that Caramel Anthony jersey.
Or no, it just says the team's. It just says the team's name again above the number. It just says,
It's Knicks, not even Knicks. It's
Sam,
Knicks.
that was 2 years ago. I love those. That's and then this year they were
that.
Sunset. They were the black ones.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a cool one. And then the this year's are cool too.
Yeah, I like that. But these are just do it.
No, that's fair. These are not great.
Also,
I'll tell you right now, the first phone call I made if I'm Donovan Mitchell is, hey, make that Rudy statue. Don't fucking put me associated with that shit.
I like this is what I was talking about. I like those.
Put that on his big ass. Let's see, Joel. Oh yeah, I didn't have a problem with those.
Yeah,
and
I like
the
those.
The
only time I ever had a problem with those is they played those. Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. Look at that. That's dope. Like, how do you go from that to what the fuck we just got? I have no idea.
Yeah, they dropped the ball. Whoever,
I don't know. These are cool jerseys, I thought.
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, so we got one more basketball topic, then we'll do our football topic, and we'll get out of here. The summer league, I'm gonna wait till next week because we'll at least know who our rookies are, so that we can be more excited.
We can do our rosters.
That's good because
we can map out the rosters. Yeah, because I'm like, Didge, you're privileged, so summer league means nothing to you. You have
summer league. We still have players we want to evaluate. We still
has their own summer league, don't they? Usually, I don't know if they still.
Yeah. We still have players we want to evaluate, though.
You're lying. Your rookies, unless your young player's last name is Antetokounmpo, they don't ever see the light of day.
I got a question for you. This is how you know he's privileged or not. We'll find out right now. Right now, with his answer, right now, we'll find out. You ready?
I'm listening.
Who is your favorite young prospect?
Jordan Nwora.
That's an easy one. That was the first. That was a
I was like, I made it too easy.
I also want to see what Sandra. I can never pronounce his last name. It's like Umeshkavelli. I also want to see what he's gonna do.
And you know what's funny? You want to know how you're still privileged, Didge? Because not only will you never be able to see that in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Giannis is like, what, 28, 29? It'll be forever before any of those young prospects. There's a couple I still want to see.
I want to see Luka Vildoza. We just signed him in like April.
Oh, that was our guy, Luka Vildoza.
I want to see what he's gonna do.
Just watch Nick highlights.
No, I'd rather not.
It was great.
So it's like, we got young players to evaluate, guys.
Okay. Yeah, you're full of shit, but okay. We'll see. When I call you on a random Tuesday, like, yo, Didge, you watching the Summer League game? And you go, oh, shit, I didn't even know it was on. That'll let me know how privileged you are. For us, we will have to study every fucking Summer League game to see what the kids look like, because in the regular season, we'll never get to see it. So that's why Summer League is important to us. For you, I got Giannis. I got Middleton. I got Holiday. I got Portis. I got Lopez.
Portis might opt out.
Go where?
Why would he do that?
And go where?
He found a home in Milwaukee. Don't run.
Nobody will value Bobby Portis like the Bucks do. I can tell you.
I got another question. Who do you consider your sixth man?
Our sixth man?
That's a good question.
Probably.
Can I guess?
Pat Connaughton would probably be.
I was gonna say that. Go ahead. What was your guess, though?
It wasn't Pat Connaughton.
I was gonna say Pat Connaughton.
It wasn't Pat Connaughton.
Who was your guess?
It was Brook Lopez.
No, because he's played.
Yeah,
he sometimes plays our starting
not
center.
this year.
That's because he was hurt most of the year.
But when he got back, he still didn't start.
Yeah, but he's just started when he's
Bobby played.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, Brook Lopez could be a really good six man. But I get you. Yeah, Pat Connaughton was the right answer. All right, so let's move on to our last basketball topic. This one we're going to have some fun with. Draymond Green versus Jamorant. Those two have been jawing ever since the finals popped up. Klay Thompson did an interview after winning the finals to where he brought up an old tweet by, who was it, Jared Jackson Jr.?
Yep. Did he ever retweet it?
Triple J?
No, at this point, Klay Thompson hasn't been able to put a bottle down long enough to retweet anything. But apparently, Jared Jackson Jr., he made some comments towards the Warriors that Klay Thompson decided to bring up now that he was not happy with, and then proceeded to call Jared Jackson Jr. a bum. So Jamorant went to Twitter to say, we got a lot of real estate. And Draymond Green responded with, we traded that real estate in Jamorant. The property value was higher in Boston. Fucking love that response. And then Draymond Green was tweeted at by Rick Bucher, saying, we need you guys to become a rivalry. And he said this was said to be the case last year. Like, if they beat us in a regular season game, it's a big deal. This week's pod is going to be bananas. Post-game pod, I was still in shock. I got a lot to say. This is exactly what we are not going to do. And then Jamorant was tweeted, a fan had tweeted to Jamorant, we hope you guys play on Christmas. And Jamorant said, nah, bring them to the trenches. And Draymond Green said, the champs play at home, young. Christmas Day. I love this. I don't think this will be a rivalry. And the main reason why is, Joel, you remember last year where the whole world made a big deal about Trae Young bowing at Madison Square Garden and shitting on the Knicks. And this is the new rivalry. And we proceeded to wipe our asses with the Hawks this year. So I'm like, it completely died off. It's not a thing anymore. Like, there is no beef.
We also didn't make the playoffs in order for it to stay a thing.
No, but I'm saying, even when we played each other in the regular season, there was just no beef. There was no animosity. It was
always
chippiness.
Fun to play them. Now we beat them mostly.
Right.
They did get one on us. And I will say, if it came down to the playoffs, that's really the beginning of a rivalry. Right now, there's just animosity because he talks a lot of shit. Yeah. But
and also, I think the biggest reason why it seemed like it was a rivalry for the Knicks and why they reverted to some dirty tactics in that series, they just weren't playing well. So it was the idea of not playing well and seeing how well they're playing, and they're shitting on you while they're doing it. That is what boiled the Knicks up. I don't see this being a rivalry between the Warriors and the Grizzlies, only because Draymond Green has this same energy for all 31 teams. So it's not like he reserves it.
You went to football. Went to football.
Sorry. My mind is always football.
Say what? I missed it.
I said 32. 31. I said 32 teams. There's not 32 teams.
Whoa. Not yet.
Not yet. Joel's looking to make it happen. But no, Draymond Green, he takes everything personal. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he takes what the Grizzlies said or did any more personal than anything else Draymond did. This man literally said, they say, oh, look at Draymond in all black. And he said, yeah, I was dressed for a funeral, referring to Game 6. That's just Draymond. Like, Boston did nothing to Draymond, but that's just Draymond. So to me, I don't think this would be a rivalry. Didge, do you see this turning into the next big rivalry in the NBA?
I don't. And I also, just the Grizzlies are kind of corny to me. Because they just... I don't get how you could say real estate when it's like you said something first. How is it you're taking real estate when you said something first?
To be fair, it feels like Jaren Jackson Jr. said it during their series, and that feels like so long ago. Klay Thompson brought it up like recent, like right after winning. So it was we said it during the regular season. It was literally after a game because it was back in March. It was a game that they had beat the Warriors. Mm-hmm. And he tweeted it right after that.
And it's like, so you said something in a game because it's in March really didn't mean too much. And because they held on to it and waited till their finals to say something back, and that's not real estate. It's you talked way too early, and they finally clapped back.
Yeah.
So it's just, it read a little corny to me.
Yeah. I am a firm believer of.
But I don't go.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, just overall, I just don't see it as a rivalry thing that it's gonna lead into, because I think the Warriors are gonna always do that. They're gonna always let you talk and just let their game do the talking.
And then shit talk you after they won.
Of course, other than Draymond, but like you said before, Draymond will talk shit to a fly if he needed to.
Yeah, that's just Draymond. That's who that guy is. That's why when they do the Warriors documentary, like they did the Jordan one, it's gonna be nothing but Draymond saying, "And I took that personally, and I took that personally, and I took that personally, and I took that personally." It's like, well, there, Draymond,
the guy gave me the wrong pair of shoes, and I took that personally.
And I took that personally. I walked in to their stadium. I went to go give the valet guy a high five. He turned away. And I took that personally. It's like, well, Draymond, what?
No, it's going to be even less than that. Like, I went to get a high five. He gave me a fist bump instead, and I took that personally.
I went out there and dropped 2 points, 10 assists, and 13 rebounds. That's how
and
personally
4 fouls.
And I fouled out and got suspended. Same game. Never happened before. I did it. First time ever. But Joel, let me first say this because I know you too well. Besides the fact that you don't care, do you think this will be a rivalry? I know you too well. I knew you were going to lead with that. Do you see this becoming a rivalry between these two teams?
That was definitely the first thing I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
I knew it. I knew it, Joel. I knew it.
Will it be a rivalry? Yeah, I think it will be.
Okay.
I think it will be because I think the Grizzlies are just going to get better and the Warriors aren't going to go away. So they will see each other again.
Immovable object. What is it? Irresistible force.
It's
immovable object.
Unstoppable force. Immovable or something.
That's what those two are. Those two are
force
that.
What a movable object, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Some shit like that.
Yeah, because Joel said Warriors aren't going anywhere, so they're the immovable object,
right?
And the force will be the Grizzlies because we believe they'll just get better, right? So that'll be really interesting to see if it does turn out to be a rivalry. We know this for sure. This will be a Christmas game. Yes. This 100% will be a Christmas game. If it wasn't going to be before, it will be now.
Yeah.
You said immovable?
Maybe now. It's immovable. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. Yeah, this will definitely be a fucking. Yeah, I can't wait. All right, last topic: football. Didge, I'm going to you first because you are more invested in this player than me or Joel are. So I'm going to start off with you. Bart Scott recently in an interview said that
Bartholomew, by the way.
Bartholomew, yes, Bartholomew Allen. No, Bart Scott said that players would rather face Tom Brady than Peyton Manning. He went on to say that the fear was more so from playing Peyton Manning than there was from playing Tom Brady. Didge, I go to you first. What are your thoughts on these comments that there are players that feared Peyton Manning more than Tom Brady?
Bart Scott is a hater and a liar.
We know from his chess days.
Let's be honest. They were more afraid of Tom Brady because Peyton Manning was wizard in the regular season. But when it came to the playoffs, more often than not, teams were able to get his number. With Tom Brady, when it got to the playoffs, it was a next level. He would turn us, he would flip the switch, and it was like, it's just Bart Scott is a hater. I saw this earlier and I was like, I really don't care what Bart Scott has to say. He lost to the Patriots enough that he just has an internal hate for Tom Brady. And I think that's where this comes from. I think Joel agrees with me. He was so disgusted, turned off his camera.
Left. Right.
Sorry.
Now I'm going to say this because I believe I can't end this show without a hot take. I believe that Peyton Manning is grossly overrated. I do not have Peyton Manning in my top 5 all-time quarterbacks.
Wow.
I do not. And the reason why I say that is it has to be a full body of work, right? So you go to his first Super Bowl where they beat the did they beat the Bears? Yeah, they beat the Bears. That game against
Rex Grossman.
100%. Devin Hester did his job. That defense did its job. Rex Grossman just came there and shit at the bed. Yeah. So you look at that, you give him that. I will not take that Super Bowl away from him. Then you go to the Super Bowl against the Saints. What happened there? Right?
They went marching in.
That's exactly what happened. And then you go the Super Bowl that they won in Denver, right? Despite, right? I'm gonna skip over the one where the Seattle just said, all right, I'm gonna skull fuck the shit out of Denver in this Super Bowl, right? Let's just go to the one that they won against Carolina. They won that in spite of Peyton Manning. The man had 154 yards, a fumble, an interception, and I believe a 31 QBR. 31 QBR. They won that game because Von Miller turned into God in that Super Bowl. That's why they won that game. So I look at it and I'm like, well, what are we talking about? We're talking about the guy that's great in the regular season? That's what we're talking about? I can't give him that.
It's tough because I feel like you there's a lot to say. Well, I guess first, where do you have Aaron Rodgers in your all-time ranking?
In my top 5.
Then it's tough because Aaron Rodgers is another player who great regular season, but doesn't seem to turn it on in the playoffs.
Now,
so
you're absolutely right. So you know what it comes down to between those two? Because I had this already because I knew you guys were going to ask that. It comes down to who do I think has better mechanics as an overall quarterback. Peyton Manning does not throw the football better than Aaron Rodgers. Them shits look like ducks when he fucking throws it. We got to remember, Peyton did have, for the longest, Marvin Harrison, then had Reggie Wayne, then moved up, right? And had that Denver core. I believe he helped elevate that Denver core. But that Denver core in that time, Eric Decker was a stud. Demaryius Thomas was a stud. Julius Thomas was a stud. And then they added in Wes Welker. And
this
they
is
had
a tough one to me.
Go ahead.
It's tough to say. You said it so definitively that he's not in the top 5.
That's why it's hard to argue with him sometimes because you're like he said it so like I almost believe him, and then I'm like
no, I immediately like no. I just don't see how you could not.
So you're telling me you'd rather have Peyton Manning over Aaron Rodgers?
I'm not saying that. I think they're both in the top 5. But I'm just saying. What? I think they're both in the top 5. I just think it's so wild to say.
Well, the
so
question wasn't who's better.
Top 5. It was so definitive that you were saying yes, one is in and the other
is out. Yeah.
Because I believe Aaron Rodgers has better mechanics than Peyton Manning does. Peyton Manning's best gift was not throwing the football. It was his ability to break down a play before he even fucking said hike, right? So it was his ability to deconstruct.
I'm about to say, Peyton Manning is not that different.
Not that different from what?
Breaking down and off.
No, he's saying
no, I'm saying that was Peyton Manning's gift is being able to completely.
I was saying, like that's exactly what.
Yeah, that's saying that. Yeah, no, I wouldn't give that to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, I don't believe has that ability. His ability is I can just out throw, right? Anything,
sure
right?
Can.
So to me, it's like when it comes down, just like Dan Marino. Right? You look at them, Peyton Manning has more rings than Dan Marino, right? So then you go, well, one has rings, one doesn't. You just made that argument, Juwaan. But if we're talking just quarterbacks, not all-time players, just quarterbacks, Dan Marino is a way better thrower of the football than Peyton Manning is. He just is. Dan Marino suffered from having no help almost his entire career. He didn't have a Reggie Wayne. He didn't have a Marvin Harrison. He didn't have any of that shit.
I can't agree with this.
Like, that's fine. That's fine. Look, I said this was my hot take. I wasn't looking to get you guys to jump on the bandwagon. I'm going Joe Montana. I'm going Joe Montana.
How about Joe Montana?
This isn't in order. Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino, and I'm going for number 5. This is the one that will shock you guys the most because the career's not even over. The career's just starting. Patrick Mahomes is in my top 5.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
There's nothing Peyton Manning does better than Patrick Mahomes. Nothing. Name something. There's nothing. Nothing.
Patrick Mahomes his career could end September. he could get hurt in September, and you still what he's done by then is enough. Yeah, okay.
To be better than Peyton Manning. If you're talking statistics, I get you. That's why I said his career is not over. So I understood if you would argue, well, the stats. I'm talking just pure quarterback mechanics. There's nothing Peyton Manning does better.
If you're going all-time top 5, you have to include the stats.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. But so then you're telling me that you'll leave that door open for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he's too
okay.
You have to leave the door open.
No problem.
But then again, even if a career's done, Dan Marino's not in the top 5 over Peyton Manning. So it's like,
oh, I have Dan Marino in my top 5.
That's where we differ. No,
yeah, Dan Marino is making my top 5. That man was supremely fucking gifted with no help ever. Peyton Manning had arguably for his entire career a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense.
But he was one of the leading reasons of those. And those defenses were not great. That was always the calling card of Indianapolis for years, is that defense was not great.
Really, because almost half of those games where Peyton Manning lost to Tom Brady, it was him throwing a game-ending pick. It was him turning the ball over.
But it was because it was always, if you can stop that offense, it's all that mattered. It was because the defense wasn't stopping anybody.
but that's more of an indictment on Peyton Manning, is that you were the weakness.
It's not. It's the fact that this defense couldn't stop anybody. All the offense needed to do was get stopped once or twice because the defense couldn't stop anybody.
Let me ask you this. Knowing the rosters that Peyton Manning has had throughout his career, if I told you that man ended his career with 2, you could make an argument one of those was very fucking fluky, but 2 Super Bowl rings. You'd believe that?
Considering knowing what else was in the NFL during that time, yes.
What? He was only losing to Brady half of those fucking times.
So what are we talking about here? He just happened to play in the era of one of the greatest players ever.
You can make an argument those first few times where Brady played Peyton Manning, he had a better offense than Tom Brady.
It doesn't matter.
Offense.
The defense needed just 1 or 2 stops because Indianapolis's defense wasn't stopping anybody. That's what I'm saying. Indianapolis's defense was a liability for years.
I don't know
for years.
That's the reason. I can definitely give you that for the past 15 years, 100%. But the entirety of Peyton's career, his defenses weren't good.
That was the difference that year. They were able to win that championship because their defense was finally able to get some stops. I remember that exactly.
Yeah, I'm just, like I said, to me, Peyton Manning has had too much to work with and too little success to show for it. Can't put him in my top 5.
That's a wild statement.
And again, I just don't think he's a better thrower of the football than the 5 other names that I named. And to me, that is probably the most important thing you got to be able to do is throw the fucking football. He's not a better thrower of the football than Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, or Patrick Mahomes.
I'm sorry. I don't know. It just came out.
I mean, look, if you want to say what was more impressive, Peyton's 2 or Eli's 2, I'd give it to Eli every day of the week. Eli had 2 game-winning drives in both of those Super Bowls. Peyton Manning, you could have taken Peyton Manning out of that Carolina game and put in a stick figure, and the fucking Broncos still win that game.
That was like his last year, too.
That was definitely his last year after, 2 neck surgeries?
Yeah, I mean,
first of all,
he wasn't the same guy.
Time out.
Right.
They were in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, but that's impressive.
So, but what do we say about the 2 years before where they got blown off the map?
What do we say? They weren't
where he got blown out by Seattle.
That means he got there.
Completely.
That was only
he was worse than he got there. So that tells you that.
Yeah.
No. I think he was better. He was better when they got blown out by Seattle. He was worse when they won against Carolina.
That's
that was literally the end of his
They still
career.
got there, and he was worse. Is my that's what I'm trying.
Because that's how great that defense was. Because you had DeMarcus Ware, you had Von Miller.
Don't get me wrong. It was not good.
But that defense that year against Seattle wasn't that great. That defense took a step up those last 2 years.
And you know what? I would agree with you if you could statistically tell me that you thought Peyton Manning had a good game offensively. I don't care that they lost.
I'll take.
Tell me that you think he had a good game.
Peyton Manning over Rex Grossman from the Bears.
I don't remember that game.
Yes, of course, Joel. Yes. I take Nick Foles over fucking Rex Grossman. That's not saying much. Fuck.
Hey,
by the way, when when you want to talk about choking, Joel, Didge, when you want to talk about choking, I could use the term choking, and I think it's very fitting for fucking what's his name? Jay Cutler in that NFC Championship game where he was riding the speed bike instead of playing.
That's
and
a fair statement.
Yeah, that was just like, what the fuck are you doing? you want to maybe help your team? So that's for sure.
That's not choking. That's
that is
definitely quitting.
That is quitting. Butt fumble might be more choking than
that was just incompetence. I don't even know if you call it. That was just incompetence.
But yeah, so to me, when Bart Scott said this, I was more offended because I'm like, I don't put Peyton Manning in the same conversation as Tom Brady. I'm like, you feared Peyton Manning. Why?
I'm a fan of Bart Scott, but he is a hater. I'm like, he's a fucking hater. He's not afraid to be a hater though. So he admits it, but
you embrace it. Yeah, you can be admirable of that.
He's definitely especially a Patriots hater because he's a Jet. He's a former Jet.
Right.
He's from Detroit. He I know he cheers for the Pistons.
Life's just been rough to him.
He's a Detroit guy, but he obviously played for the Jets, so he's got connections there. So, but he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy, no doubt. If that's how he feels, that's how he feels. But there's no doubt that there's a bias there.
And again, he and the players he's referring to might feel that way, but statistics and success tells you otherwise. Because here's the thing: the year Peyton Manning got blown off the field against Seattle, guess what happened the very next year? Tom Brady went in there and beat Seattle. Same Seattle team. Nothing changed. Same Seattle team. And our defense, that was the year we had Revis, Browner, and those guys. Our defense was better than the defense they had. But again, Tom Brady played way better than Peyton Manning did. I remember saying, there's no way Tom Brady would ever get blown out like that. That's just, I assume he'd score at some point, right? So to me, that is the biggest difference, is that fundamentally and skill-wise, Tom Brady is just better than Peyton Manning. The shit he goes through, Tom Brady just would never have to go through.
Than everyone.
That can be an argument to be had. And I even, because Bart went on to, I think Bart went on to elaborate that they kind of view Tom Brady as more so of a system guy, and Peyton Manning is that said system. And to me, I say to that, I just watched Tom Brady in the first year he left Bill win a fucking Super Bowl. And I can definitively say there is nobody coaching in Tampa that is anywhere near Bill Belichick. So he didn't go to Bruce Arians, who was like, oh, that's just like a step down from Bill. He went to somebody that's not even on the same playing field as Bill Belichick.
I think him going to Tampa Bay proved exactly what you're saying is that it's the opposite. It's not the case.
It's like, you know what it's like, Joel? It's like when people were saying when Kawhi won the Finals MVP, you only did that because you happened to play with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Ginobili. And he said, all right, bet. You know what? Let's try something fun. Fucking send me to Toronto. I'm going to go win a championship there. That motherfucker won a championship there, Finals MVP, and now no one has that rhetoric anymore. It was just because of the Spurs. Bitch, I took Toronto. And essentially all they did, essentially, and I don't mean literally, but essentially all they did was pluck DeMar out, put Kawhi in. They went to the fucking finals and won it. So I'm like, that to me is the biggest difference. And I'm like, I look at Brady the same way. Brady could do that any day of the fucking week. The man still holds the record for the most yards in a fucking playoff and Super Bowl game with 505 yards. And you're telling me you don't fear that? Come on.
I'm mad we gave Bart Scott this much time. Like, the man is a hater.
No, it's more offensive because, like, when you listen to the sports media round, they're trying to justify it. And I'm like, there is no Didge, because Joel, I know that was a Super Bowl that you were trying your best not to watch. So I'll go to Didge. Didge, what was everybody and their mother saying when Brady got the ball back against the Eagles? He's going to fucking go right down the field and win this game. Everyone and their mother believed that. They were shocked that he fumbled. They were like, what the what? Oh, shit, what? Everyone thought that was too much time. He's going to go right down there and win the game. So to me, that's fear. No one ever goes, Peyton Manning's about to go right down there and win this game. You're like, well, wait, is this regular season or playoff?
As long as they're good football, if they're a good quarterback, I'm always gonna be afraid. Like for my life when it comes down to it. There's no, I don't think I'll ever go against a good quarterback and say I'm not afraid of them. I don't think I could say that. I don't care what the record shows. If they're good and they're showing it, there's a chance.
But that's
I'm afraid.
That's then fun to see what it comes down to, because a lot of quarterbacks have shown they can be good and they can be really fucking pathetic. So it then comes down to which one are you getting today?
It's also any given Sunday and shit happens. And I'm
100%.
like, bruh, Nick Foles won a fucking Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
And Super Bowl MVP. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Back. Yeah.
He caught fucking caught a touchdown. The motherfucker.
He has a statue.
And then Tom Brady tried to do the same thing.
Yeah, that was not a good look. That was replayed too many fucking times that summer.
Because I can't.
But Didge, last question. We're getting out of here. Is Tom Brady your all-time greatest quarterback of all time?
Yeah.
Joel, is he yours?
Fuck it. It's the best you're gonna get.
I mean, you don't have to pick him. Like, you're not obligated. You can say somebody else. Are you going with him?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's that motherfucker right there. I mean, shit. I just watched him win in golf, and then just won a Super Bowl not too long ago. He just won in golf. What can this motherfucker do? Be a stay-at-home dad. That's the only thing.
Right? that is very true. He spent like 2 weekends at home and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back to the NFL. Getting sacked is better than this.
And then he said, all right, well, when I'm because then Giselle's like, all right, well, you can't play forever. And he's just like, fuck, that's true. I'll commentate. There we go. I'll commentate. I'll talk football if I can't play it. I can't be here. I can't be with you and the kids. I can't. Sorry.
You guys still have no.
Do we say have what?
Go ahead.
You guys still have no offensive coordinator?
No. The more I hear, the more I keep hearing that it's likely Matt Patricia, and I still can't comprehend what I'm hearing. But
I stopped checking.
One really cool thing, Didge, that I'm sure you'll really love to hear. Apparently, Jack Jones is playing so well in practice that they're viewing him as the J.C. Jackson replacement.
Who's Jack?
Jack Jones is
the
kid we just drafted. The corner we just drafted.
What is a corner?
This year's draft. Yeah, they're already saying he looks like he could easily be CB1.
Really?
With how well he's
Wait,
playing.
who are your cornerbacks right now?
So our cornerbacks are Jalen Mills, Malcolm Butler, Terrence Mitchell, Jonathan Jones.
Okay.
I'm forgetting somebody.
Oh God!
We drafted actually another Jones. We drafted 2 cornerbacks with the name Jones.
That's what I heard. I just needed the 3. I was just curious. So.
Yeah. So it's not world beaters at all at the cornerback.
I was just curious because I'm like, all right, you said so he's a backup. That guy you're talking about,
Jack Jones.
Jack Jones.
Well, no, they were saying they were saying that he would be a reserve spot, like a reserve CB. But they're saying he's playing so well, he might just be a CB1. Like literally J.C. Jackson's replacement.
J.C. Jackson's replacement.
J.C. Jackson just went to the Chargers. He was our cornerback last year. He was our star.
You said
corner.
CB1. CB1's your first cornerback now.
Yeah. And
that's
I'm saying
originally
he was playing so well.
Originally he was slated to be just a reserve guy. But he's playing so well, they're slating that he could be CB1.
But what about Butler and Mills?
Butler and Mills, they're plug-in guys. They were plugging
Jalen Mills. Than them, is what you're saying.
Yes. Which is also not really saying much because Jalen Mills is a better safety than he is a cornerback.
Yeah.
We saw that when he had to guard CeeDee Lamb one-on-one, and CeeDee Lamb was just like, I'm going to have the game of my life. So we saw that there. But that's high praise to say that he could possibly replace J.C. Jackson in year 1.
What's his name again?
Jack Jones.
Jack Jones. And you guys have a Marcus Jones as well?
Yes. And a Mac Jones. And a Jonathan Jones. And a Jonathan Jones.
Yeah.
Jonathan Jones, another corner. And a nickelback, right?
Yep. He's more of our slot guy.
Yeah.
He was our slot guy a lot of last year.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that, Didge, because apparently Mac Jones is lighting it up, and Jack Jones could be our new. And again,
it's all about the Joneses.
We got to see, apparently, but we got to see what that looks like when we do joint practices and then during preseason. So I'm not getting too excited because I don't think our roster is that great that I'm like, oh my God, what? You were able to defend Kendrick Bourne? What? Like, no. Like,
Devontae Parker, though. It's good.
No, he's really good. But I don't know how many times I've heard that it was against Devontae Parker. We just hear that he's playing well.
Right.
They didn't say against who. So it could be against Nelson Aguilar. It could be against Kendrick Bourne. It could be against why am I forgetting his name? We just picked up the Tinder on him.
Oh shit.
Fuck. Damn.
It's late. I'm starting to blank on that.
Yeah, I'm blanking completely, man. I'm blanking completely. Jacoby Myers.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
It's Jacoby Myers, Didge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers. So that's just really good news to hear out of there. I can't wait to hear some more news. And then I can't wait for us to get into Summer League that will lead us right into preseason. That is like the 1-2 punch. Summer League will lead us right into preseason. Fingers crossed the Knicks can play well in Summer League to go long enough.
Did you guys release your Summer League schedule?
Yes.
Yeah. We got it. We're good.
We released that schedule. But we'll break down the schedule and everything when we do the Summer League talk next week once we see our rookies that we get. Again, it won't matter to you, Didge.
But you know.
We'll talk Bucks rookie from number 32, whatever the fuck.
24. We're 24.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, got you.
And we're actually thinking about. We're also one of the teams that are thinking about trading up to 14.
Look at you.
You know what, Didge? You don't have to aim that low. I'll give you 11. Just give me Giannis.
No. Stop it.
You love the youth so much, right? Give me Giannis. You can take the 11. Shit, have it. And you can have Randall as a compliment.
No, we're okay. We'll stick around that 14 range, you know.
You can pair Randall right up with Bobby Portis. That'll be a great 1-2.
We did it and it worked for us.
No, we'll stick around that 14 range. We'll see what we can get around the 14 range.
No, you're aiming too low. Get 11. Just give up Giannis. It doesn't matter. You like your rookies.
No, but not as much as I like Giannis.
You have another Antetokounmpo on the roster.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's not Giannis, though.
It's time for him to earn his
Thanasis' turn.
No, it's time for him to earn his name.
He's no Giannis.
We drafted him. We know.
We know too goddamn well. Oh, man. Bruh, he is so bad. When they said that Antetokounmpo was rising, right? I said, there's no fucking way it's him. Like, I'll be mad as fuck if it's him. They're like, no, it's Giannis, his brother. Yeah, because his brother is the fucking man around. Joel, we saw this with J.R. Smith bringing Chris Smith to the Knicks. We saw this.
More minutes than what Chris Smith was getting. I'll tell you that much.
That is for sure, yeah. But all right, I want to thank Didge and Joel for joining me on this episode of GVN Sports. I want to thank everybody in the comment section. I want to thank everybody that was watching, everyone that's going to end up watching. I want to thank the subscribe button above Didge's head. You've been very loyal, subscribe button. We thank you. And I want to give a massive shout out to Jayla, who has been working the boards and everything in the back. Our beautiful setup. Our setup was awesome today. We tried to give you guys videos, but as we were doing the Warriors video, YouTube just was like, hey, we shut down your video until you took it down. And it was like, well, you guys suck. So we don't know how long you guys weren't able to see us before YouTube put us back on. So we apologize for that. YouTube is just...
It wasn't long. I'm looking at the replay of it.
It wasn't long?
Nah. It looks like 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, that's not bad then. Okay. But please, guys, make sure you stay tuned. We'll be breaking down Miss Marvel and the finale of Kenobi, which they are calling it series finale. They are not calling it season finale. Okay. So that maybe quiets down the season 2 rumors, I assume.
Better end with a bang.
Maybe because that means Vader spin-off.
Maybe.
Can only hope. Maybe then that means bringing Starkiller back. Anyway, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. One will be at 7:30. One will be at 8:30. Thursday is the last Scare podcast with Jayla, Blake, and Sabrina. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. They will be getting you ready for the Black Phone. Is it called Black Phone?
Black Phone.
Yeah, I think
Black
so.
Phone.
Yeah, I'm definitely checking that out at some point this week.
All right, let me know when you want to watch it during the day. I'll go with you. So make sure you guys check that out Thursday.
I might go Saturday.
during the day. Let me know.
Yeah, during the day.
Or Jayla said Scott Derrickson episode.
It's a Scott Derrickson episode, right?
Oh, so we're talking like Strange?
No. They're talking horror movies of Scott Derrickson.
He said Scott Derrickson. That's everything.
I will say, the way we saw a certain somebody look in that Doctor Strange movie, that could be a horror movie. Do Dormammu better. But thank you guys. Please make sure you guys check out the Geek Set podcast this Friday. Make sure you guys check them out. Didge, what you guys got going on?
Geek Set.
I have no idea, actually. It's too early in the week. It's too early.
Sorry I threw you on the barbecue like that. I didn't.
No worries. It's too early in the week for me to think about that. I will start planning it out. It'll be something. I'm sure it's probably anime heavy this week.
Okay.
Anime.
All right. And make sure you guys stay tuned. Jail is actually putting together a game night, a geek game night. We'll let you guys know more details as we get closer. But stay tuned for that. That's going to be freaking dope. So thank you guys again. And until next time, peace.